So anyway, by the way, my mother was enjoying our Thanksgiving conversation yesterday. My mom's like, "Wow, Mark really cooks." I'm like, "Oh yeah." I go, and she goes, "Man, you were just egging him on." I go, "Well, I said that's his go-to right here." I go, "This is a big next week's big week, big week."
Love Thanksgiving.
Yep. I don't want to say I've lost weight or anything, but my wife looked at me yesterday and said, "You've lost weight." I looked at her. I go, "You haven't looked at me in years." And that went over big, big. But see the shelf. See, she looked right over at me. I go, "There's less shelf, isn't there?" I go, I can't put as much Cheez-Its on the shelf." Granddaughter asked if we can get Chex Mix. Like the answer is no. She hasn't realized that the answer is not no yet, which is good. But come to think of it, everything you ask for, you get.
So my budding attorney daughter, I promised her a few weeks ago, I said, once a week we can stop and you can get a snack, smoothie, ice cream, something like that. So she wanted a Chick-fil-A milkshake.
Okay.
And I'm like, no. She's like, why? I go, because I don't feel like it. I said, because I said so. She said, that's a terrible excuse, Dad. I said, I know, but it's great as a parent to use it.
Yep.
She proceeded for 2 miles down the road to undress me as to why that was a bad idea, what I had told her 2 weeks ago, and that she deserved. And I'm sitting there in the car going, these are all really valid points. I don't know how I'm supposed to say no to this.
Yeah, but this is a benevolent dictatorship, and the answer can still be no.
I caved.
Apparently, daughter took granddaughter to Chick-fil-A yesterday for the fries. Granddaughter loves the fries.
Wow.
Yep.
Hey, the Sixers lost again.
And Paul George got hurt.
I know.
They're 2-12.
Uh-huh.
Last night was the first time that Embiid, George, and Maxey were in the same lineup together. It lasted a quarter.
And they still got beat.
Did not hear about Todd Helton's Tennessee home. Ambient, why are you almost cursing at 3 a.m.?
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, coming at you from the Floor Meister Studios. Floor Meisters, keeping it real. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Top of the morning to you on this Thursday before Thanksgiving. We got over the hump yesterday. We can begin to see the finish from here. And for that matter, we can even start to make some holiday preps. But first, how the heck are you? Miller and Moulton. MillerandMoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. Thanks so much for being with us. Got another full show today. Lots to kick around. The football continues. What are we, day 50, I think? Today is day 50 of the 55 consecutive days of football before the streak ends the night before Thanksgiving. Top of the morning to you, Mark. How are you?
I'm good, David. I realized something, that during this streak of 55 days, that I'm pretty sure and nearly positive that I watched 0 Sunbelt, 0 Conference USA, and 0 Maction.
You have not taken part in Tuesday and Wednesday night football over the last 7 weeks?
Not one bit.
Wow. So you didn't need the distraction that is Maction?
No, the NHL was my distraction on Tuesday and Wednesdays. Little NBA here and there, but I have kept away from bad college football. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
Are you becoming a college football snob, Mark?
Ooh, great question. And I think yes is the answer, although I've watched a good share of Colorado this year. I've watched some Big 12 football. I think if you're snobbish, are you just watching the SEC and Big 10?
No, not at all. It's Power 4 football. I mean, heck, I think you can watch AAC football. I even think you can watch some Mountain West. I mean, Boise, after all, and Heisman Trophy finalist in all likelihood. A couple of other good teams in that conference. No, but you've just decided, the Sun Belt, Conference USA, the MAC, ain't doing it for you.
It's not. In the MAC's where I grew up, it's my backyard.
Right?
And it is the distraction that is Maction, but I've not taken it in.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
So if that makes me a college football snob, then I have become a college football snob.
If we were to do a poll question, I actually think that topic is a good poll question. With Tuesday and Wednesday college football coming to an end next week, have you watched any Tuesday, Wednesday college football in October and November?
I think we can do a poll question today.
I mean, it's a sports poll question, so it'll get 38 people to respond. Now, if we ask favorite flavor of Pop-Tart, oh, my goodness, hundreds.
Well, it is funny you say that because as I was not really prepping for the show, as I was getting ready this morning, and one of the things I do is try to look for a couple good, bad, and ugly stories from the time I get to the studio until the time that we start the show. It just makes the day a little bit easier. And I use a local news site here in the Fort Myers, Naples area as my go-to. And one of the contributors to that page had put out a article that said every state's most popular Thanksgiving side.
Ooh.
And it's the biggest pile of bunk I've ever read.
Okay. Now, before we go any further, like, are potatoes considered a side? I mean, how?
Yeah. There are several states.
So is it anything outside of the turkey considered a side?
Correct.
Oh, well, now, okay.
And I don't believe basically any of it.
Well,
apparently, the most popular side dish in the state of Florida is rolls.
well, yes. When we think Thanksgiving dinner, I mean, after the turkey, it's not potatoes, it's not stuffing, it's rolls.
There are 4 states, David, my home state being one of them, my home state of Michigan, along with Wisconsin, Oklahoma, and Wyoming.
Wow.
Their number one side dish, the most popular Thanksgiving side, is baked potatoes. David, I've never even heard of anybody serving a baked potato with Thanksgiving.
I was going to say mashed potatoes, but I've never seen a baked potato at Thanksgiving. There's another poll question. By the way, that would get hundreds of respondents.
It would.
Okay.
The Garden State, David, your home state of Jersey. Would you like to care what the number one side dish at Thanksgiving is?
Well, it better be stuffing or mashed potatoes.
Stuffed mushrooms. David,
What?
I've never even heard of stuffed mushrooms as a side dish on Thanksgiving. Like I said, I was super excited. I saw this list. I'm like, I can derail our show early. I can go to Thanksgiving side dishes. People will be fired up. We're going to talk some food. Probably can get a poll question on it. And I'm looking at what these side dishes are, and it's a bunch of garbage.
Man, it's crap, I tell you. It's crap.
Yes. Yes, things that aren't even served at Thanksgiving
No.
are making the list.
You've just mentioned two things, stuffed mushrooms and baked potatoes. Literally, I mean, I'm a month shy of 59. I'm a big fan of Thanksgiving. Big fan. Okay. I've done nearly 59 of these suckers. All right. Not been at a table where, I've had to work where, the meal is catered and this, that, and the other thing. Did turducken in Louisiana and Arkansas. All right. In which, they do things a little differently. I never saw either side at a Thanksgiving dinner.
So I was excited and then let down, all in a matter of minutes this morning.
And I think Canada Relief in our Twitch chat room has a good question. What do you stuff the mushrooms with? All right. We do have a few people in the Twitch chat room who do stuff mushrooms, though. Okay. All right. That's good to know. I don't know if you'd win any contest, but apparently in Jersey, I don't know what my grandmother and mother have been doing all those years, but never once had stuffed mushrooms. I mean, deviled eggs, maybe. Okay. Mom, if you're listening, hope you got a chuckle out of that. That's her big go-to, deviled eggs. That's what she brings to any occasion. But all right. So that's just if we want to go there, a little Tuesday, Wednesday college football. Have you taken it in at all, or have you, not realizing it, like one Mark Miller, become a bit of a college football snob? Also, would be curious what are ratings like for Tuesday and Wednesday football. We've asked this question. If you're at these conferences, do you keep doing this? Is it worth it?
For those, and we have a friend that works for a Conference USA team that says it is.
Yes, in a big way. And his team got 2 games on you. Not even on 2, not even on the 4-letter network. ESPN U. And he said, oh, yeah, definitely worth it. Oh, okay. Good to know. So.
But we've made it back to real football. It starts again tonight.
Now, I'm much more intrigued by this game than I think a lot of people are. Because it's likely to be the style of football that I love. And, we talk about how teams do after playing in certain games. The Steelers and Ravens just got it on 4 days ago.
And it was everything it was supposed to be from a physicality standpoint.
Right.
It was a rough, tough football game, chippy after whistles, a lot of personal foul penalties. It was one of those games that, quite frankly, you expect when these two teams play one another. This is every bit of a Steelers-Ravens rivalry that took place. So how do they respond after that type of physical game?
And by the way, Steelers have to play 4 days after playing the Ravens. Ravens get to play 8 days after playing the Steelers because they're playing Monday night in Los Angeles. And yeah, there's big travel involved, where there's very little travel involved with Pittsburgh. But still, 4 days rest and really 3 days rest. 4 days later, Steelers have to play. 8 days later, Ravens have to play. And that's what I'm intrigued by tonight, Mark. There was the game a couple of weeks ago in which I was worried for the Bills. I just said, I don't know, man. This seems like a sandwich game, and you can't tell me they're going to play a B+ or better game today. I think this is going to be a C+, B- performance. I mean, if you're just going to project tonight, and granted, they're playing a 2-8 team, so, they could show up with a B- performance, and it may look like a B+ because of who they're playing. But coming off of this 5 in a row they've won, they just went down to the wire with the Commanders, down to the wire with the Ravens. All right. What type of performance do you think you're getting from the Steelers tonight?
David, I think Mike Tomlin's teams always give you a B.
They give you an A effort, but what type of performance? You think they'll give you a B? Because if so, they're winning. mean, come on, their B game can beat the Browns.
Well, put it this way, it's an average B because the defense is going to give you an A performance and the offense might give you a C+.
So I'm just worried about the Steelers' legs tonight. I don't know. I got a feeling we're getting a C+, B- out of the Steelers tonight. And does that come back and bite them in a low-scoring game where literally one play is likely to make the difference? I'm just worried. I mean, Mark, you got an 8-2 team playing a 2-8 team. You know what the spread on the game is?
3.5.
Right. I mean, tell me there aren't others that aren't a little concerned about everything that's in and around tonight's game also. 3.5 with an over-under of 36.5. That's 20-17 Steelers, basically. Give out, take a half a point.
Great show lined up for you today. JP Shadrick will join us. Roy Cummings will join us. And Kevin Weiss to talk a little bit about the Rays. That's all ahead with the starting five, 25 minutes away right here on Miller and Moulton.
We started our show 18 years ago and have been fired 3 times. But Miller and Moulton have never lived on the edge like we are now. We have our best morning ratings ever and are steadily adding affiliates. Yet, we only have a few sponsors, and if that doesn't change, we cannot continue. But if you want to advertise on Miller and Moulton, reach out to one of us directly by texting sponsor to 21,000 or by contacting me on X at @MarkMiller or David at @TheDavidMoulton. You can save Miller and Moulton and make your business some serious money by texting 21,000 now.
Gentlemen, as your wife mentioned getting new flooring, but you don't want to go through the hassle, well, go see the Floor Meisters in Naples next to Costco. They understand your time and money are important, so they'll make it as painless as possible. With a huge in-stock selection of carpet and Cortec, they can get you the floor your wife's been asking for. They carry wood, vinyl, carpet, and tile. If you do it yourself, no problem. They can handle that as well. So go see TJ at the Floor Meisters and tell them, just keeping it real.
American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
Visit Jason and Todd at the Diamond District.
It's time for one of the biggest diamond events of the year, right in your backyard. Join Jason and Todd at the Diamond District this weekend, Friday, November 22nd through Sunday the 24th, featuring GIA certified diamonds, diamond stud earrings, hoops, huggies, bracelets, diamond necklaces, anniversary bands, gemstone jewelry, and Rolex watches. Plus, Barry Verragio, founder of Verragio, one of America's top bridal designers, will join the Diamond District with his entire collection. This is Miller and Moulton.
Yeah, and the stream's working right. So I don't know what you're talking about, Bray, but you scared the heck out of me. Thank you, Jay Gunn. Appreciate it. So am I fine with just how much Tuesday and Wednesday college football have you watched?
Sure.
None. I've sampled it as much as I can get.
Right.
And then if we get bored, we'll put up the side dish one. It's stuffing to me, EB, but I've heard it called both. It's another fine poll question right there.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton. Text the guys what's in your mind at 21,000. That's 21000. And now, here's David Moulton.
21 minutes past the hour. Thanks so much for being with us. Kevin Weiss will join us in a little more than an hour. And for some of you, you may not be interested in this Rays story. Miller and Moulton are fascinated by it. And our buddy J.P. Peterson, who we will get on the show before Thanksgiving, he had on a Hillsborough County commissioner yesterday who said, you know, the whole Ybor City project from a few years ago, we can do that. And we got the money for it. We can do it. We can resurrect that. If this Pinellas County thing dies and Sternberg's willing, we could resurrect that sucker. Now that goes against, you know, what our buddy Steve Carney and others have said, which is you start throwing money at the Rays, Hillsborough County, the Bucs are going to be like, hello. Our stadium's 30 years old, and we may want a new one. At the very least, we're going to want hundreds of millions of dollars in refurbishing. Hello. And they're going to get the NFL behind them to say, you ain't never going to get a Super Bowl again unless you don't do something about this. So, but that was interesting. He had on a Hillsborough County commissioner yesterday. And if you don't know, Tampa is one county, St. Pete's another. Hillsborough, Tampa, Pinellas, you know, for St. Pete. And so there you go. Maybe, you know, maybe it's just grandstanding by one county commissioner. Maybe it's, you know, Mark, we've all had those moments. You do a talk show long enough, you get a good guest, you make a little bit of news, maybe that's all that was. That was just a moment. But maybe there's some there.
And maybe not only is there some there, but it's possible, David, that they can build the Rays something and take care of the Bucs.
Whew. That's some coin right
That's
there.
That's just raising that bed tax to the level it needs to be.
Well,
Make the tourists pay for it.
That is some coin, though. You and I are big fans of bed taxes. All right, it's not coming out of our pocket, right?
Exactly. Hit the tourists up.
How many nights do you spend in a hotel in the county in which you live in, right? Now your family might be paying for it when they come down to visit you. Just don't tell them. Hey, you need to come and visit us more. Why? We need a new stadium for the Rays. That just won't go over well. No, I miss you. Would love to see you.
Can we stay at your place? No.
It'd be crammed. It just, it'd be okay for a while. But, there's a couple of nice places nearby, reasonable. But I just thought that was worth talking. Kevin Weiss, a little more than an hour. All right. And we'll throw it out at him. He lives in the Tampa St. Pete area. Whether or not he thinks it's just a politician having a moment on Sports Talk Radio, or whether or not, who knows? Maybe there's more options. Maybe the region doesn't have to lose the team after all. Of course, I think we're all curious. What if Pinellas County on December 17th actually votes to go forward with the bonds? Okay. Are the Rays in or out?
That's the biggest question. After the letter that they had written saying that if it's, since it's not done, we're out. What happens if Pinellas County says they're in? Because the Rays would look really silly in a lot of different ways if they say no.
Yes, they would.
It's $1.3 billion, right? The project, that's their end of the project. The project's more than that.
Right. The project's like 4 or 5 times that. Okay. But what the Pinellas County commissioners also came out and said is that we need the 4 weeks, but some who are in favor of it have said, we have a binding deal. If we go through with the bonds, some have said, I don't think the Rays can get out. So I'm not quite sure what they're doing. So that would be interesting in of itself. Could you imagine the county comes through with the financing and the Rays are like, oh, no, we want out. Excuse me, what? Huh? This is sports, man. I'll tell you, forget reality TV. Sports is reality TV.
And this is adding all the elements to it. This is bringing government inside the mix. This is bringing the public inside the mix to a certain degree, because county commissioners are voting the way the public thinks that they want to. So this has a little element of everything of what's going on with the Rays Stadium deal in St. Pete.
Right. We're missing romance, unless you think, baseball is romantic. We're missing sex. That's not part of this story, but everything else we got. We got money, we got power, we got politics, potential corruption. The whole deal. Emotion. We're hitting a lot of buttons here. Okay. There's one we're not. All right.
We're one away from a miniseries, David.
Yes. In fact, we're one away from a series, 13 episodes. We can do a season at the very least. Now, it might be CW or something like that, but we're one element away from a 13-season run or 13-week run that would get approved by a network.
Maybe we've got something. Maybe that's where we go. We write a pilot, David.
Listen, a pilot's not the problem. It's episode 2 that's I've always found is the problem. But Miller and Moulton on this Thursday, a week away from Thanksgiving. For the record, best of Miller and Moulton a week from today, and probably a week from tomorrow also. All right, we've got a run here. Okay, Labor Day to Thanksgiving, boom. We're not like Florida, high schools. I mean, we go to work, every day. And I'm not saying the teachers, I mean the students. Okay, because teachers oftentimes end up going on days when students don't. But no, we're every day here. But next week we'll take Thursday and probably Friday off as well.
Working harder than Joel Embiid here on Miller and Moulton.
Whoo-wee! Don't tell me the basketball gods don't have a sense of humor, okay? So did you see last night was the first game? What is this? Last night was the 14th game of the season for the Sixers. And last night was the first time that their, quote, big three were all in the same lineup. Embiid, Paul George, and Tyrese Maxey. Maxey's been carrying the team as much as he can.
But he got hurt and was out for a few games as well.
And he was very questionable last night, but he ended up playing. And the big three stayed in the lineup together till the second quarter when Paul George hurt his knee. And we'll find out today just how serious it is. It looks like a hyperextension, which not good. Not good.
It's getting late early for a team that was expected to do things in the Eastern Conference. They are 2-12.
2-12. Now, granted, it was a little over a week ago that Milwaukee was 2-8, and they've won 4 or 5. So, in theory, get everybody back together again, put a little 3-week run together where you go 8-1, and all of a sudden you're back in playoff contention.
And particularly in the East where the records are dreadful.
Yeah, the East, which on paper looks so good at the beginning of the year.
But when Milwaukee and Philly are off to the starts that they're off to, and some other teams are struggling a little bit as well.
Well, Miami looks to be no better than around a 500 team right now. Orlando with Paolo has a much worse record than they otherwise would have had. Knicks got off to a slow start before having a good week here. I think they've won 4 in a row. So, but they were below 500 before that. Anyway, we'll talk a little association and the rest of much meatier sports day than maybe you realized. We'll get to all of it next. It's the starting 5 here on Miller and Moulton. Gentlemen, as your wife mentioned getting new flooring, but you don't want to go through the hassle, well, go see the Floor Meisters in Naples next to Costco. They understand your time and money are important, so they'll make it as painless as possible. With a huge in-stock selection of carpet and Cortec, they can get you the floor your wife's been asking for. They carry wood, vinyl, carpet, and tile. If you do it yourself, no problem. They can handle that as well. So go see TJ at the Floor Meisters and tell them, just keeping it real.
Is snoring bothering your spouse? Would you like to sleep in the same bed again? Do you know that snoring can affect your sleep cycle and cause lower testosterone levels? At Sleep Treatment Direct, we have easy solutions. We have a simple laser procedure that can improve snoring in 10 minutes. If you would like to get back in the same bed or are looking for a natural way to treat low testosterone, give us a call at 239-444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Or go to sleeptreatmentdirect.com. That's sleeptreatmentdirect.com. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and sound. The Cape Coral Police Department is growing. They are currently looking for police officers and are offering a $10,000 signing bonus to newly hired officers. If you desire a career in law enforcement, or if you are already in law enforcement and thinking about making a move to a better agency, think Cape Coral Police Department. If you're looking for a police department that is committed to excellence, that invests in the highest level of training, state-of-the-art equipment, and some of the highest compensation in all of Southwest Florida, then the Cape Coral Police Department is for you. Visit capecops.com. That's capecops.com. Mark Miller for Molly Maid. Why Molly Maid, you ask? Trust. Moulton was a customer for 15 years. Affordability. Didn't I just say Moulton was a customer for 15 years? Worry-free services. Our professional house cleaners are fully insured and a 24-hour warranty. Call Molly Maids today at 239-774-5839. That's 239-774-5839 or online at mollymaid.com/FTMYERS. That's mollymaid.com/FTMYERS.
This is Miller and Moulton.
got a lollipop at the bank yesterday. I have always been a sucker. I never purchase lollipops on my own. I don't know if I've ever bought a lollipop.
So
But-
you're a sucker for a
For
sucker.
a sucker. But boy, have I always loved the bank lollipop, which are different depending on the bank you go to.
I want to present you with a scenario at 7:00.
Okay,
Do a little
Good.
college football.
good. The lollipop song commercial. Not ringing a bell. Lollipop, boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
No. Now I'll have to look that up during a break. Now, Pius, the Bears situation. Does anybody have financing, though? I mean, nobody's got a full-fledged plan together that's voted on yet, have they? Aren't they just all publicly negotiating? I actually think the Bears should move to the suburbs, but I know every Chicagoan I've talked to absolutely hates that idea. Not a butterscotch fan. Okay, music. Don't know
I
why.
like butterscotch.
I'm not. Nope. Bank had many different flavors. I usually go cherry, grape, or orange. But cherry's my number one option.
Who loves you, baby?
Now that's a
That's
Really?
a 50-year-old reference.
yes,
right
it
there.
is, baby. Him and Yul Brynner. All right, the first men to ever make bald sexy. Well, since Kevin Warren is heading it, good luck. Remember how much the Big Ten thought of Kevin Warren? They brought USC and UCLA into the conference while he was on a European vacation. Fox picked up the phone and called him. Said, hey, just so you know. He's also the same guy who said we're canceling the football season. And Ohio State and Nebraska said, well, then we're leaving the conference. Even if it's for a year, we're playing football. Guess what they ended up doing?
Playing
Thanks.
football, David.
Thanks to Ohio State, Nebraska, and Greg Sankey. They played football. That is still Nebraska's biggest contribution to the Big Ten, by the way.
Might be their only.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton. Text the guys what's in your mind at 21,000. That's 21000. And now, here's David Moulton.
22 minutes until the top of the hour, an hour away from Kevin Weiss to talk a little Rays, Roy Cummings to talk some Bucs, JP Shadrick to talk pro and college football. I mean, the Jags are a mess. By the way, Jags or Jets? You're an assistant GM. They both want to hire you.
Jags couldn't do it fast enough out of the two because of ownership. I mean, I know Khan came out and talked for the first time this year, really, but he is a stable owner compared to Woody Johnson.
Which is funny because he's getting crushed in Jacksonville. Crushed. Being called the worst owner in sports because in the 12 years that he's had the team, they have the worst record in all of professional sports. And it's not close. And so he's getting crushed. He's like, for as good as you are in business, you can't hire competent people in football. And now you've had 12 years. What's your excuse? I mean, they're all over him, nationally and locally. Of course, he's laughing. He's like, you guys financed my new stadium. I mean, what else you got? I mean, come on. Suck it up.
Who would you rather have, Khan or Woody Johnson?
Oh, my goodness. I'd rather have Khan. Are you kidding me? So, I'm just saying, all right, that the honeymoon for Khan is ended. Took 12 years. Honeymoon's over. But I'm with you. I mean, seems patient. Seems as if he doesn't have trouble spending money. All right. Loves the team. Yeah, what do you need? Okay. I mean, sounds good to me. I mean, you and I could always work for somebody like that, right?
Absolutely.
Did we ever work for somebody like that?
Kinda. I mean, the Florida Sports Network left us alone.
Yeah.
But didn't really help with the finances as much as we probably needed.
Right. That's true.
But as far as leaving us alone and letting us do our own thing,
yes,
this last run was as close to the owners we would like. And now we have the perfect owners.
Well, at least we think so. Okay. I mean, we've got Miller and Moulton. And if I can remember what day of the week it is, time now for
The Starting Five. 5 big stories you need to know. Here is The Starting Five.
Thursday, right?
Thursday.
Thank you. Hey, little history made in Connecticut last night. The UConn women, they did what they normally do. They won. But in beating Fairleigh Dickinson, which is a school based in Jersey, and if you grew up in Jersey, you called the school fairly ridiculous. It was win 1,217 for Gino Auriemma, which makes him the all-time winningest basketball coach, men's or women's. He passed Tara Vandermeer. He already had passed Coach K, who had like 1,202 or 1,203, something like that. I mean, it is worth noting, 11 natties, 23 Final Fours. But the new Connecticut is South Carolina. Dawn Staley's crew has won 43 in a row, defending national champions and top-ranked team in the country. They beat arch-rival Clemson on the road by 32 last night. One noteworthy score, and I give them credit for playing the game. Iowa State played at Northern Iowa last night. Good for them, because Iowa State's a nationally ranked program and has been for a while. They're actually number 8 in the polls. I mean, very rarely do schools like that in men's or women's basketball agree to play a road game in state against a team that's not a power conference school. Good for the Cyclones. Of course, they got beat 87-75. But, Mark, it reminded me of like 11 years ago when Miami drove across the alley and played at FGCU in men's basketball.
And lost and said they would never do it again.
Right. And in the coach's handshake, he shook the hand and said, "You'll never see me again." But, hey, at least they didn't back out of the contract. Speaking of men's hoops, good one last night. 2 nationally ranked teams. Alabama beat Illinois 100-87. It was an interesting game in College Station. I don't know if anybody was paying attention to the scores last night, but you weren't seeing things. Southern was up 16 in the first half and up 14 at the half in College Station. Wait for it. up 14 at the half. They lost by 17.
That's a halftime speech.
Let me tell you, A&M came back and won 71-54. Game of the night, however, Blacksburg, Virginia, give it up to the Dolphins from Jacksonville. Down 10 at the half in a bye game, which means that they were paid to show up and lose. Speaking of a halftime speech, wonder what Coach Mincy had to say, because they went from down 10 to winning by 10. Jacksonville beat Vatech 74-64. Mark, the little engine that could in college basketball right now is the ASUN. North Florida's beaten South Carolina and Georgia Tech. Austin P beat Butler at Hinkle Fieldhouse. Trust me, you can't get power conference schools to schedule a game at Hinkle. Never mind going there and win. And now Jacksonville just beat an ACC team on the road. Good for the ASUN. NBA last night. Paul George got hurt. Sixers lost again. Memphis beat them 117-111. Phillies 2-12. Right now, $20. They make the play-in.
Yes.
Orlando.
Have you looked at the East?
Oh, it's not good. I mean, they're only like 4 games out of the play-in, I think, at 2-12.
Right.
No, I know. Clippers beat Orlando in LA 104-93. Cavs rebounded from the loss in Boston to beat New Orleans, and the Pelicans, all those injuries, they're out of it. I mean, take a look at New Orleans' record. What is it, like, 4-15, something like that?
4-12, but you were close.
I mean, could their season be over? Cleveland won 128-100. We mentioned it earlier. Milwaukee, after getting off to a 2-8 start, has won 4 of 5. Giannis with 41. Bucs beat the Bulls by 16. And Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns combined for 70. That seems pretty good. Knicks have won 4 in a row. They won in Phoenix by 16. To football, Thursday night football tonight. One team's 8-2. They won 5 in a row. The other team's 2-8. Yet the 8-2 team's only favored by 3.5. It's got a Florida LSU feel. Does it have a Kansas BYU feel? Steelers at Browns. Over under 36.5. Does the road team on Thursday night go down again? Or are the Steelers just too good?
The defense is, I still, even with Russ, I wonder about that offense and how productive they can be coming off of that really tough game on Sunday.
But I'm worried about the defense on 3 days rest. I mean, they've a lot of physical snaps in that game. They went down to the wire the week before against Washington. I don't know. I kind of feel like it's a trap. It's a trap. 8:15 tonight, Amazon. Ray Lewis, went back and forth. The story broke during our show yesterday. Adam Schefter saying Ray Lewis is a candidate for the FAU job. Within like 2 hours, people associated with FAU were like, no. Then by late afternoon, it was like, well, no, he's a candidate. I mean, he's not at the top of the list, but no. He's on the index card. Okay, we'll call. We'll talk. So don't know how legit the interest is, but we think the interest from FAU should be legit, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, it's worth a conversation, isn't it?
Just to see what his plan is, who he'd bring in, how this would work.
Right.
I'm interested. Just like getting the game on Tuesday night on ESPNU, you get a Ray Lewis in, you're going to get publicity that you would not normally get for a university like that. National publicity.
Other college football news, former Gator and current Central Michigan head coach Jim McElwain, who's 62 years old, has announced he will retire after the season, which in this case has one more game left because they're 4-7. McElwain, he did take the Gators to back-to-back SEC championship games, and he took Central Michigan to a couple bowls, including winning the Sun Bowl against Washington State 3 years ago. I think he had like a 9 or 10 win team that year. And he had some success at Colorado State as well. He's also the guy, however, that allowed Connor Stallions to be on his sidelines with a hat and a fake mustache. And he's still being investigated about that. He claims his retirement has absolutely nothing to do with any of that, however. It's just, I'm 62, 40 years in coaching. It's time to go. Okay. Buffalo beat Eastern Michigan 37-20 last night, and Ohio remains tied for first in the MAC. The Bobcats beat Toledo 24-7. NHL got some big names that are out injured. Ovechkin officially placed on IR yesterday, which technically means you have to miss 3 games. He's going to miss a lot more than that. We'll find out later today just how much. They don't think it's season ending. They're describing it as week to week, but it's worth paying attention later today what the Caps medical people say about Ovechkin's shin-to-shin contact with the, I think it was the Kraken, or who were they playing? In which
Utah,
they suffered that injury. Yeah, Utah, you're right. Austin Matthews still out. He's missed 8 games now. He's in Germany getting his, quote, upper body injury, unquote, looked at. When the coaching staff was asked about Austin Matthews being in Germany, this is a direct quote, Mark. Yeah, he's just going to get some work done on this thing. That is.
Didn't McCaffrey go to Germany too?
He did, to get his Achilles looked at.
Huh.
Yeah.
Who knew?
Right. Work done on this thing. That is so hockey. It doesn't matter how much gambling money comes into that sport. It will take, you could get an act of Congress. You could get whatever it is north of the border. They are not going to disclose their injury information. They're not going to do it. Don't care. Don't care what the fine is. They can be threatened with suspensions. They are not going to release injury information in hockey, period. Toronto beat Vegas without Austin Matthews 3-0. Carolina 4-1 over Philly. Dallas 5-2 over San Jose. Seattle shut out Nashville 3-0. It's not going well for the Preds. And Buffalo 1-0 over the Kings. So 3 of the 5 games last night were shutouts. Baseball, Cy Young Award. Hey, when's the last time a Tiger won it? Okay, Verlander, Scherzer, one of those?
Scherzer, I think, but one of the two.
Tariq Skubal, unanimous winner of the Cy Young in the American League. And Chris Sale got 26 of the 30 first-place votes in the National League. First Cy Young Award for both. Both were Triple Crown pitching winners, which meant that they led their league in wins, ERA, and strikeouts. It's only the 3rd time that both Cy Young Award winners are left-handed. In 77, Steve Carlton, Sparky Lyle. 2002, Randy Johnson, Barry Zito. Now, up until 68, there was just one Cy Young Award. So keep that in mind. By the way, it was a nice birthday present for Skubal. Got the award yesterday on his 28th birthday. Golf. Did you see this little tidbit? European captain Luke Donald. Apparently, 2 years ago, they had a little event in January, kind of a team building thing, and you got to get invited to it. Yeah, he invited Tyrrell Hatton. Hatton plays on the LIV Tour. Didn't invite John Rahm. Now, I wonder if the reason he didn't invite Rahm is because Rahm hasn't paid his fines. And
Europe said he won't pay him.
Right. And Europe's been pretty firm about if you don't pay the fines that, the DP World Tour assessed you, you're not eligible for the team. You know who paid his fines last week? Sergio, very quietly, paid his fines. But anyway, no John Rahm at this event in January. Bears watching. LPGA Tour Championship. It's called the CME Group Invitational. It's at Tiburon in Naples. It's a 4-day event. It gets underway today. The purse is $11 million. That's big for women's golf. The winner's share is $4 million. That's monstrous for any golf. Nelly Korda officially won Player of the Year last night. Considering she came into the year having won 6 tournaments, she won 7, including a major. That seems like that's worthy of Player of the Year. And at 8 minutes before the hour mark, that was the starting 5. 5 big stories you need to know here on Miller and Moulton. And Mark, it hasn't happened much recently. the difference between Southwest Florida and Northeast Florida, where you are and I am. 15-degree difference for the next few days. Good thing this tournament's in Naples and not Jacksonville. It's 50 currently in Jacksonville. It's 66 where you are.
Well, and it's supposed to get down closer to 50 the next couple of days. The cold weather's coming through, highs in the 70s, so they will play in cooler weather. I mean, it's going to be 70 during the day. But
yeah, highs in the northern part of the state, barely going to reach 60, just so you know. Miller and Moulton, thanks for listening. We started our show 18 years ago and have been fired 3 times, but Miller and Moulton have never lived on the edge like we are now. We have our best morning ratings ever, are steadily adding affiliates, yet we only have a few sponsors. And if that doesn't change, we can't continue. But if you want to advertise on Miller and Moulton, reach out to one of us directly by texting sponsor to 21,000 or contact Mark on X at @MarkMiller or me at @TheDavidMoulton. You can save Miller and Moulton and make your business some serious money by texting 21,000
do you have
now.
a sleep problem but don't want to wear a CPAP mask? This is Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. The mask wasn't working for me, and I didn't think I had an alternative. I do. We all do. They have such simple alternatives with greater success than the mask. Visit sleeptreatmentdirect.com. That's sleeptreatmentdirect.com. And if you are like me and your CPAP machine isn't working for you, it's time for a change. Call 239-444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and sound.
The world-famous cigar bar started as a neighborhood place in downtown Fort Myers, and now it's a brand, a destination, with 4 locations. The original place, Henry Street, Fort Myers, Gulf Coast Town Center, on Southeast 47th Terrace off the Cape Coral Parkway, and the Lounge on West 1st Street in Fort Myers. A place to go, whether you just need a relaxing drink and a smoke after a tough day at work, or a place to go celebrate. From relaxation to celebration, the world-famous cigar bar.
Honey, you want to come out? I haven't seen you since Glass Doctor installed our custom shower enclosure.
No thanks.
Well, you can't keep eating breakfast in the shower, and laminating your magazines is getting expensive. You remember we have guests coming over tonight, right?
Oh, I'm sure they'd love to see the shower.
It's our neighbors, and I highly doubt they want to be hanging out in our bathroom.
The shower's so good, you'll never want to leave. Visit glassdoctor.com today and schedule an appointment online.
American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
Mark Miller for Molly Maid. Why Molly Maid, you ask? Trust. Moulton was a customer for 15 years. Affordability. Didn't I just say Moulton was a customer for 15 years? Worry-free services. Our professional house cleaners are fully insured and a 24-hour warranty. Call Molly Maids today at 239-774-5839. That's 239-774-5839 or online at mollymaid.com/FTMYERS. That's mollymaid.com/FTMYERS.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Yeah, ambient. Do I think Chris Sale, after the 2018 World Series, when he got the final outs, was at that moment in time going to the Hall of Fame? Yes, I did. But in the next 5 years, he won 17 total games. 5 years. He's got 138 wins.
He's not a Hall of Famer.
All right. Now, if he stays relatively healthy, he's going to get to 3,000 strikeouts. But, I mean, 5 years. Now, granted, one of them was a COVID year and he didn't pitch at all. But, I mean, good ERA, right around 3. Okay. I mean, 2,400 strikeouts, but I don't know, ambient. 100, I mean, don't you think he's got to, I mean, to even have a chance, don't you think he's got to get to 200 wins? And that's 4 more good years. Good years when he'll be 36, 7, 8, and 9. I think he will not be a Hall of Famer, and I think it will have been because of the injuries. But that the years he was healthy, yes, I actually think he was projecting as a Hall of Fame pitcher. But I mean, he was tied with Nolan Ryan and Mussina for, most top 5 appearance finishes in the Cy Young without winning it until last night.
And John, 738 for Kevin Weiss.
I mean, he had a great 7-year run. 2012 through 2018 was terrific. It was.
How long is it going to take me to hate my automobile after I get a new one today, since I hated my truck pretty early on?
Ooh. Well, do you like the color?
It's gray. All my cars are gray. It's my go-to color.
I thought you were getting one with color.
No, that's why I didn't buy it. It was red.
I thought you wanted it.
No, that's
Oh.
why I didn't buy. I literally didn't buy it because it was red. I would have walked out that day with the new vehicle had it been gray.
Gray?
I'm getting a GMC Terrain. It's like the Chevy Equinox. It looks like.
Why do you buy gray?
It's just unassuming. I don't like white. I don't like black.
I don't like white. Why are you anti-color? It's not a cops thing. You're worried I got pulled over, is it? Is it a theft thing? You don't want people breaking in?
No, I just don't. It is a little bit of a cops thing. I mean, the red thing, they say to get more tickets. I drive fast.
Okay, music, yes, I agree with you. He'll get consideration. Like, he'll be on a Hall of Fame ballot. I have no doubt in my mind Chris Sale will be on a Hall of Fame ballot. But he's at $138. I ain't going to get it done. Sandy Koufax, by the way, won those games in basically 5.5 years.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, coming at you from the Floor Meister Studios. Floor Meisters, keeping it real. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
It's hour 2 of Miller and Moulton on this Thursday. Thanks so much for being with us. JP Shadrick joins us 2 hours from now in the Diamond District bonus hour. Roy Cummings an hour from now. Kevin Weiss 35 minutes from now to talk a little Rays. Thanks so much for being with us. Thursday night football tonight. Steelers at Browns. Pittsburgh 8-2. They've won 5 in a row. How come they're only a 3.5 point favorite at a 2-8 team? Huh? Is an upset brewing tonight and we just don't realize it? Because the Thursday night road jinx continue? Just saying.
Division game. Cleveland hates Pittsburgh.
Hates.
It's Steelers week for the Browns. I don't necessarily think it's Browns week for the Steelers, if you know what I mean.
No.
It was Ravens week last week. That meant
yes. Mm-hmm. Yep.
We have a poll question up today.
Wow.
I know. 2 in a matter of 6 days. Pretty good for us.
Really is, because it took about 3 weeks off.
We did.
Yep.
But you broached the subject based on Tuesday and Wednesday night college football. How much have you watched? None. I've sampled it as much as I can get. Right now, none, and I've sampled it, are battling it out for first. Those of you that are watching as much as you can get, well, we'll let you know when we're talking about the Rays or any other sport, so you can tune out for those segments if you choose. But, David, I have a question for you. A doomsday scenario question. What happened Saturday if Ohio State beats Indiana 49-14 and Penn State goes to Minnesota and loses.
Mm-hmm. Well, Indiana's out.
Is Penn State out if they lose to Minnesota?
Yeah, I think so. Now, is it possible that they can backdoor their way in if enough chaos happens elsewhere and next weekend? But no, in my opinion, when next Tuesday night the College Football Playoff Committee releases their rankings, the Big Ten will get 2 and the SEC would get 5 minimum. And then you start bringing into account whether or not one of the other conferences is now also getting 2.
Would the SEC get 6?
Okay. Look, answer this question. Assuming Texas A&M goes to Auburn Saturday night and wins. Because I believe without question, if Penn State loses, first off, Indiana, you just take them off the board. Honestly. I know they're 11-1, but if it's 49-14, you just take them off the board. I'm sorry. They'll drop 12 spots. They really will. They'll drop to 16-17 land. Boom. Sorry, you're not playoff worthy. We're going to drop you so far down that we don't care what happens in the next 7 days. You can't get in. Sorry about that. Penn State, though, would they drop below Texas A&M in your estimation? A&M's at Auburn. A&M has 2 losses. One in conference, I think it's to South Carolina, and one out of conference to Notre Dame. But A&M beats Auburn. And gearing up for the showdown against Texas, they're 9-2, tied for first in the SEC at worst. Penn State would be 9-2, 4th place in the Big Ten. Where do you think Penn State would be ranked in relationship to Texas A&M, who's currently 15th, and Penn State is 4th?
I think they would stay ahead of A&M, but A&M still has the Texas game that if they win, they would leapfrog Penn State the following week. I mean, I really see a scenario here, if that were to happen, where the Big Ten only gets 2. And they would collectively lose their minds.
Well, because, all right, you and I have had A&M beating Texas. You know, I've had
since
it.
August.
Yeah, I've had it since April. I mean, I just think that literally the Aggies would give up days off their life for this game. It's just so emotional for A&M, and I just think they're going to win. I do. I think it's going to be an amazing effort. It's going to be a magical night in College Station. They'll talk about it forever. That's what I think is going to happen. And they're playing it at night too. Wow. College Station at night for a big game is up there. It really is. The place does shake. The place feels like the old Orange Bowl. When they get swaying back and forth, you look around like, is this thing moving? Kyle Field at night is something. It really is. All right. Back to the conversation, though. You tell me this. So we have A&M beating Texas.
Right.
Okay. So let's just say we're right, and it happens. And A&M is going to be in the conference championship game at 10-2. Well, obviously they're going to be in the playoff. Texas or Penn State? Texas 10-2, Penn State 10-2. If, in fact, Penn State loses to Minnesota. Texas's 2 losses are to A&M and Georgia. Penn State's 2 losses are Ohio State,
Minnesota.
And Minnesota.
In this scenario that we've drawn up.
Texas or Penn State, who goes?
Texas.
So now let's do the math. Penn State loses to Minnesota. You think they fall behind Tennessee?
Yes.
Okay. So
what's Penn State's signature win compared to what Tennessee's signature win is? Right. And I think it's easy that Tennessee would be ranked ahead of Penn State.
Okay. So if that's the case, we're just going a week at a time then. We think Penn State will drop at least behind Tennessee, which would put Texas, Alabama, Ole Miss, Georgia, and Tennessee ahead of Penn State. That's 5. And for the moment, let's just say Penn State's still a few spots ahead of A&M. Now we have A&M beating Texas. So now A&M jumps in front of Penn State, and the question is, how far are they going to drop Texas? Texas, who will in theory still be third. Penn State will have fallen to 12, 13, something like that. Will they drop Texas behind Penn State, if for no other reason, Mark, so that the math is 5-3 instead of 6-2? Because that's what the SEC is going to be arguing. The math should be 6-2.
Now, I want Penn State to win out. I want Penn State to host one of these games, and I want Georgia or Ole Miss or Alabama, whoever the hell it is, to go have to play in Happy Valley. I think it would be great.
Not only that, they'll play it at night. They'll do a whiteout. That's if it doesn't even snow on top of it. Oh, yeah.
It'd be terrific.
I mean, right now, and we know it's not going to happen because Ohio State and Indiana are playing Saturday, but right now, literally, the 4 schools hosting the first round games are all northern schools. They're Ohio State, Penn State, Indiana, Notre Dame. Now, if let's just say Ohio State beats Indiana, whether Indiana's in or out, even if you keep them in, they'll likely be on the road. But even if 3 of the 4 first round games are Penn State, Ohio State, and Notre Dame,
and Notre Dame, or rather, Ohio State's going to get the 12. I mean, if they win the rest of their games, and even if they lose to Oregon in the Big Ten title game, Oregon or Ohio State will get that 5 spot. It seems highly likely that that's the case.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so.
So they'll play the 12, whether that's Colorado, BYU, or Boise. I think it'll be Boise when it's all said and done. But that means Notre Dame and Penn State could be hosting legit college football playoff games against Southern teams in cold weather. Sign me up now.
I think college football fan would jump up and down to see it. First off, we do love football in cold weather. I mean, the ratings show it. We do. I mean, I remember we were at Fox, and all of a sudden we were doing a 4:25 game, and it started snowing in the second half. And they told us the following week, you should have saw the ratings jump once it started snowing. I think it was Seattle at Green Bay, and it started snowing. And they're like, oh, yeah. Word got out it was snowing. People love football in the snow. Love it. This is something we didn't bring up yesterday. I thought of it yesterday afternoon. Just these 2 teams. Don't take anything else into consideration. Ole Miss or Tennessee? I got to thinking, and listen, you and I love Lane. We want Lane in, okay? I want Lane to win all the damn time. Love him. Love him. Ole Miss's resume, Tennessee's resume. Ole Miss beat Georgia at home, and they beat them good. I mean, they whooped them. They did.
They really did. I mean,
did.
even
They
more than
whooped
the final score. That was a dominant performance by Ole Miss in that game.
Yeah. Tennessee beat Alabama at home, beat them by 7. So if you want to say slightly better win, slightly because of margin of victory, Ole Miss, okay. Tennessee lost at Arkansas. Not good, not awful.
But not losing to Kentucky at home.
Thank you. I mean, isn't that an interesting debate in and of itself? Ole Miss or Tennessee? Now, they've got Georgia placed in between them. So they're basically saying to Ole Miss, you win your next 2 games, you're in. But I got to admit, if I'm Tennessee, it's one thing to be behind Georgia. Same record, they beat us, fine. Why are we behind Ole Miss?
Because Ole Miss beat Georgia? I mean, is that...
Well, and because we beat Alabama in October and they beat Georgia in November? I mean, seriously, is this recency bias? I mean, if we did the blind resume and didn't tell you that one school was Ole Miss and one school was Tennessee, and we put the record and strength of schedule and strength of wins and strength of losses up on the board, just curious. That could be a poll question. Who would you put in the playoff if it came down to Ole Miss or Tennessee? And obviously the committee has decided. They're putting in Ole Miss. But, man, if I'm Tennessee, that bothers me. Really? I mean, you could argue Ole Miss is the worst loss in the conference this year. Conference. They lost at home to Kentucky. We lost by a score at Arkansas. We beat Bama. They beat Georgia. Okay, give a slight edge to them. By the way, they also lost to LSU, which is not looking nearly as good as it did when they lost to them. Our losses are Arkansas and Georgia. Theirs are Kentucky and LSU. We're on the outside looking in? You sure you guys don't want to look at this again? Miller and Moulton. We started our show 18 years ago and have been fired 3 times, but Miller and Moulton have never lived on the edge like we are now. We have our best morning ratings ever, are steadily adding affiliates, yet we only have a few sponsors. And if that doesn't change, we can't continue. But if you want to advertise on Miller and Moulton, reach out to one of us directly by texting sponsor to 21,000 or contact Mark on X at that Mark Miller or me at the David Moulton. You can save Miller and Moulton and make your business some serious money by texting 21,000 now. The world famous cigar bar started as a neighborhood place in downtown Fort Myers, and now it's a brand, a destination with 4 locations. The original place, Henry Street, Fort Myers, Gulf Coast Town Center, on Southeast 47th Terrace off the Cape Coral Parkway, and the Lounge on West 1st Street in Fort Myers. A place to go, whether you just need a relaxing drink and a smoke after a tough day at work, or a place to go celebrate. From relaxation to celebration, the world famous cigar bar. Gentlemen, as your wife mentioned getting new flooring, but you don't want to go through the hassle, well, go see the Floor Meisters in Naples next to Costco. They understand your time and money are important, so they'll make it as painless as possible. With a huge in-stock selection of carpet and Cortec, they can get you the floor your wife's been asking for. They carry wood, vinyl, carpet, and tile. If you do it yourself, no problem. They can handle that as well. So go see TJ at the Floor Meisters and tell them, just keeping it real.
The Cape Coral Police Department is growing. They are currently looking for police officers and are offering a $10,000 signing bonus to newly hired officers. If you desire a career in law enforcement, or if you are already in law enforcement and thinking about making a move to a better agency, think Cape Coral Police Department. If you're looking for a police department that is committed to excellence, that invests in the highest level of training, state-of-the-art equipment, and some of the highest compensation in all of Southwest Florida, then the Cape Coral Police Department is for you. Visit capecops.com. That's capecops.com.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Did you see the article in The Athletic yesterday with all the blind resumes and they stacked them up? They did all 4 SEC teams, Alabama, Georgia. In one, it was Alabama, Georgia, Ole Miss, and Tennessee.
Okay.
And then they did, the Ole Miss and Tennessee is really interesting because their strength of schedule is really close. Their point differential is really close. Ole Miss has done better against FBS teams. They've done better against teams with winning records. And they have one more win over a top 25 than Tennessee does, the South Carolina game. But it's just interesting. It's
totally. It's close, though.
It's really close.
It's close. And once again, to me, it's Kentucky. It is a gaming chair. I know, E.B. Hill. Does it make me look cool? Or is it like, dude, you're too old?
No, if you're too old to be in a gaming chair.
And I just bought it for comfort. I didn't even know it was a gaming chair. I walked into a place that had chairs. I went, oh, I could use a big ass chair like that. And that's why I bought it. And then everybody's like, you bought a gaming chair. I'm like, oh. I mean, if you think about it, though, I do 4 hours a day here. I mean, spent a lot of time in it. And I'm in it for an hour beforehand. I mean, I spend at least 5 hours a day in this thing. Hell, I barely spend more time in my bed.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
21 minutes past the hour. Kevin Weiss, got a Locked On Rays podcast. Fascinating story. This is like the Oakland baseball team. I mean, they're not the A's anymore, I guess. They're the Aths. Whatever. It's their story. It's the Bears stadium situation. I mean, we got one of those going on in our backyard, so to speak. So we'll talk to Kevin Weiss about it coming up. By the way, Mark, Miller and Moulton broadcasting from the Floormeisters studios. Floormeisters. Just keeping it real. Hey, it was pointed out to me, and once again, twitch.tv/Miller and Moulton. You get to see the show. Twitch has its own chat room and everything. So I bought a gaming chair a year or so ago, not realizing that I was buying a gaming chair, because when you think cool, hip, trendy, you think me.
I don't think of anyone owning a gaming chair as hip, cool, or trendy. I think of someone owning a gaming chair, as it was described in the Twitch chat room, as a millennial who's in their mom's basement playing Fortnite way too much.
Well, you're cutting edge, though. Okay? Aren't you? If you have a gaming chair, in theory, you can make the case I'm cutting edge. I'm not accepted by mainstream, but watch out, I'm coming. Anyway, when you think cutting edge, you don't think me. Is that a fair statement?
That's almost an absolute, David.
So now see, you and I are of similar age, but you look a lot younger because you have 4 gray hairs. All right. And I actually have a decent amount of dark hair, but none of it is visible when you see me. All of my edges are white. My sides are white and the front is white. The top, okay, and the middle and a decent amount of the back is black. But when you see me, I'm old. I mean, I look 15 years older than you. Is that fair? I mean, you look younger than you are because you've got 4 gray hairs. And I look almost 10 years older than I am. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think that's fair.
So I'm already worried about coming off as creepy old guy. I mean, that's been in my head now for a couple of years. The women in my life have said, listen, you need to realize, okay, that you are in the creepy old guy category. And I'm like, I don't feel like a creepy old guy. They're like, well, between how you look and just how younger people look at you and they think you're older than you are. I'm just telling you, okay, you you're a creepy old guy. And so now I've been for 2 years, how I act to the tellers and the people in the drive-through and what have you. I don't want to be creepy old guy. Well, now I just realized me sitting in this gaming chair. Is this like a creepy old guy thing?
It could be. You're on to something.
And I bought it because it's big, it's comfortable, and it's largely red. It's my favorite color.
Yeah, you love red. You're upset with me because I didn't buy the red car.
I couldn't believe it. I thought you didn't buy the car because they didn't have it on the lot in red. It turns out the only one they had was red, and you said no because of that?
It's red. I don't want a red car.
Well, why not?
Because I'm not 24.
That doesn't scream. It's not like me sitting in the gaming chair, for goodness sakes.
Hey, I've got a red car. Look at me.
I mean, once again, the Cape Coral Police who sponsor the show. I mean, would it be such a bad thing? Okay, mid-50s guy with a red car. I mean, are you going to pull him over just for the heck of it, or are we past that? I mean, he's not driving a sports car, for goodness sake. I mean, what are you buying? Like a Nissan or something like that?
A little SUV, but I don't want red.
Okay. All right. We'll deal with that. That's a Miller and Moulton thing. I'll just yell at you off air about that. But do I have to change my chair?
No. No, that does not. David, you're creepy enough with or without the chair. Your creepy factor is right where it is. The chair does nothing to make you any more or less of a creepy old guy.
So this doesn't, I mean, because, it's kind of like if you're of a certain age and a certain body type, there are certain clothes you shouldn't wear. I mean, is that what I got going on right now? It's kind of like, oh, man, he should not be wearing that.
I don't know, but I'm more concerned with your family telling you you're creepy old guy.
Well, wife and daughter have said, hey.
Is this like when you're out, because you are very personable. You go out to eat, you go to a bank, you go to the post office.
Yes.
When you're out doing your thing, you try to be personable. You try to be nice. And have they commented that your niceness is being misconstrued as creepiness when you talk to, whether it's a waitress or a bank teller, whoever it may be?
Yes. My wife especially, she's like, listen, you don't want to come across, but you can't be so friendly that you start to come across the line as like you're flirty. I'm like, I'm never flirty, ever. Okay. And she's just like, I'm telling you, you can't be too nice. Okay. They think
so perfect. That's great. You're not gentle enough in the face, and now you're too nice.
Right.
What the hell is it? I'm on your side here, David. You're not creepy old guy.
I've got 3 dominant women in my life. Okay. My mother just texted me, you're not creepy old guy. You're a sweetheart. Thanks, Mom. Okay. Problem is she's 1,000 miles away. The 2 that are right around me, they're like, you got to be careful. Don't be creepy old guy. Now, on the Twitch chat room, most of my audience are creepy old guys, whether they're younger or older than me. I mean, come on, we're all in this together. We're all of similar mindsets. This is a friendly audience, this Twitch audience for me, even though Twitch is known for gaming. That's another thing. I got the gaming chair on Twitch. How can that be out of place? I thought you had to have a gaming chair to be on Twitch. Thought it was a rule.
Are you comfortable in the chair?
Yeah, it's a big fat chair with armrests, and it's red. I love it.
I will say the big fat chair part probably works because I have a chair with armrest, and there's a guy who works in here who's a heavier guy who comes in, runs the board at night a lot.
Right.
He switches the chairs out on me.
Right.
He goes with the chair with no armrests.
He's right. Needs a bigger chair.
Needs the bigger chair.
Right. See, this thing, the chair is big enough, and then I still got the armrests that are perfect. Yeah. This is like a seat and a half on a plane. It's at least a seat and a quarter.
Oh,
it's
in
my
coach,
kind of
that's a
chair.
seat and a half.
Yeah, it's awesome. I really don't want to give up this chair. I think I'd give up the show before I'd give up the chair.
Good to know.
Miller and Moulton. Hey, it was brought up also in the Twitch chat room. Just one creepy old guy bringing up something to another. Chris Sale with the Cy Young. He was tied with Nolan Ryan and Mike Mussina for top 5 finishes in the Cy Young without winning one before he won it yesterday. You and I, very biased towards Chris Sale. We covered him in college. Okay. Know him a smidge. We know the charity work he's done with a couple of causes, him and his wife. Okay. We know him to be a good guy. All right. Fierce competitor, but know him, like him. We've rooted for him for 15 plus years. We're biased towards Chris Sale. I thought Chris Sale was on a Hall of Fame trajectory before he got hurt in 2019. He had 4 or 5 largely lost years. Missed a year and a half with injuries. He won, Mark, 17 games over 5 seasons. Not each year. I'm talking about 2019 through 2023. He won 17 total games. The other 8-9 years around it, really good. But he's at 138 career wins.
Yeah, that's not Hall of Fame worthy. It's just not. He'd have to pitch to get to 200.
Don't you think that's got to be, he's got to get 62 more wins?
Unless somehow, he switches his career, goes to the bullpen, and ends up doing something great that way at the end of his career. But unfortunately, because of injury, he's going to miss the Hall.
He's going to end up, if he stays healthy, because he's at 2,400 strikeouts now, he'll get to 3,000, which is a magical number. His ERA is right around 3. But for those arguing he's a Hall of Famer, we'd love to see it. We just think the injuries are going to keep him out. We started our show 18 years ago and have been fired 3 times, but Miller and Moulton have never lived on the edge like we are now. We have our best morning ratings ever, are steadily adding affiliates, yet we only have a few sponsors. And if that doesn't change, we can't continue. But if you want to advertise on Miller and Moulton, reach out to one of us directly by texting sponsor to 21,000 or contact Mark on X at @MarkMiller or me at @TheDavidMoulton. You can save Miller and Moulton and make your business some serious money by texting 21,000 now.
American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
Wine glasses never fall over until you get a brand new rug.
Oh, no!
Ketchup bottles act normal till you're wearing a new shirt.
Oh, you kidding me?
And rocks slide peacefully on the road till the day you get a brand new windshield. Then they fly up off the road and attack without mercy. That's why new windshields from Glass Doctor come with our windshield protection plan. Unlimited repairs and 1 replacement for 12 months. Don't just fix it, protect it. Glass Doctor. A neighborly company.
Mark Miller for Molly Maid. Why Molly Maid, you ask? Trust. Moulton was a customer for 15 years. Affordability. Didn't I just say Moulton was a customer for 15 years? Worry-free services. Our professional house cleaners are fully insured and a 24-hour warranty. Call Molly Maids today at 239-774-5839. That's 239-774-5839 or online at mollymaid.com/FTMYERS. That's mollymaid.com/FTMYERS.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Look at you. I'm coming. You're just really fast. I'm just going to the house. Yeah. You're just going to the house. You're so fast, Oakland. Here we go.
Oh, I got to call the guest. Crap.
Vegas, close.
All set.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
22 minutes before the hour, Roy Cummings to talk Tampa Bay Bucs at the top of the hour. Thanks so much for being with us, Miller and Moulton. MillerandMoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. Kevin Weiss is kind enough to join us once again. Follow him on X at Kevin Weiss _, Kevin Weiss _. He is co-host of the Locked On Rays podcast, Locked On Rays. Kevin, it's David and Mark. Thanks for doing this. How are you?
Doing well, and also a little confused with the Rays Stadium situation, as many other people are.
I was going to say, we called you because we're confused. Listen, do you think the Rays were just grandstanding to the nth degree 48 hours ago with the letter and the quotes in the Tampa Bay Times? Or, I mean, is it possible that the bonds get approved and the Rays are still out?
I guess it's possible. It seems like, for whatever reason, that Stu Sternberg is trying to get out of this deal by his grandstanding and his comments. And the elected officials are not very happy. It's really unfortunate that it seems like the Rays or the ownership group is utilizing the hurricane or multiple hurricanes as a way to possibly renegotiate the deal or reconfigure parts of it. And Stu Sternberg is not making many friends with the Pinellas County commissioners and likely the city council members as well. I mean, the commission really, based on everything I've read and heard, has every right to delay the vote on those bonds until I think there's a more or less a drop dead date of March. So they could, keep kicking the can down the road for the next couple months if they so choose, because, what really throws a wrinkle into all this is you have two commissioners that are new to elected office, and, part of the reasoning behind not wanting to go forward with the bonds is they're trying to understand the deal and get their head around it and try to, they're dealing with recovery from a hurricane. But it's one of those things where I do understand both sides, but the Rays are really, really looking bad from a PR standpoint and public sentiment standpoint. And not that anybody would ever, go out of their way to watch a YouTube recording of a commission meeting, but it's actually kind of entertaining to hear all the public comments and to hear the comments from the commissioners as well. And, it really, what really could be crazy is if the Rays were to leave town and still find a way to capitalize on the historic gas plant redevelopment, which there's a lot of money tied into that. So they could be dipping from that pile while also getting the best deal in Nashville or Charlotte or possibly Tampa or Hillsborough County. So it's really crazy what was happening. I thought that after 16, 17 years of back and forth and stadium talks in every place that it was pretty much a done deal, but evidently not right now. So we're kind of all on pins and needles right here.
Are the two new commissioners listening to what the constituents want? Is this a deal that's wanted by the people of St. Pete, or at the end of the day, was this something the government decided that St. Pete needed?
That was a really good question.
And for whatever
I'm
reason,
sorry, can you repeat that? I think my phone cut out for one reason or another.
Yeah.
Are the two new commissioners, are they doing what the people want or what the county commissioners want in terms of this stadium deal?
Yeah, for some reason I can't hear.
Yeah, he can't hear. Go ahead, David.
He's talking.
Okay. The question was: Are the two new commissioners? Are they doing what the people want and the people don't want this deal, or are they trying to follow the lead of the government officials who voted 5-3 for this deal?
Yeah, I think they're kind of following the lead, and my understanding is the new commissioners, not to bring politics involved, but I think they ran on a conservative platform and not utilizing public funding for professional sports. And I think it's going to take some sway to get them on the post-stadium side, but that's where I kind of have some issue with it because, the previous commission voted to put these bonds in place and to structure this deal for a new stadium, the county and the city council. And it's almost like, I understand the delay and trying to deal with the hurricane and all that, but you're kind of backtracking on your agreement with the Rays as well. And, people bring up the argument of, hey, this money needs to be, these bonds and these dollars need to be allocated for things like sewer improvements and water improvements and infrastructure, roadway improvements and affordable housing. Well, these are tourist tax development dollars, and they can only be levied for certain purposes that are more or less related to tourist endeavors, like beach nourishment or giving money to rebuild or improve minor league ballparks or museums, soccer stadiums, things of that nature, youth and amateur sports. So it's not like, hey, we're going to hold off on these bonds and use it to build a new wastewater treatment plant. That can't be done. So that's kind of where I have the question of, well, you can't use that money for that purpose. So why are you holding up the bonds in the first place? And if you go back and listen or watch the commission meeting, you had a lot of economic development folks, people from the Chamber of Commerce and the downtown district, basically saying, hey, keep your agreement, vote for this deal, let's get this project done, because in order for the gas plant district and the redevelopment in St. Petersburg to maximize its value and draw visitors and draw tourism and get business going, get business booming, you need the anchor of the Rays Stadium, because not only is it going to help the working class with jobs for 81 Rays home games, but it's not just going to be used for a ballpark. There's going to be conferences, graduations, concerts, all sorts of other purposes and reasons that the new stadium could be deployed for. And then you have the whole question and equation of what's going to happen to Tropicana Field and whether the city, I know it gets confusing between the city and county sometimes, but the city needs to make a vote, I believe today, actually, on whether they are going to help fund the repairs of Tropicana Field. So there's a lot at play right now. And I don't know, I get the feeling that for one reason or another, the owner has had a change of heart, and some of the henchmen are trying to keep the deal together. And, there's a lot of issues at play. And one of the issues is these elected officials are very, very upset with the lack of communication or no communication post-hurricane, and basically the Rays being radio silent for over a month on this whole situation. And I think some of the Rays officials were at that meeting on Tuesday, but they refused to speak. They sent a letter a couple of hours before the meeting, and that has really rubbed these people the wrong way. And at the end of the day, this really could jeopardize the whole stadium deal. Now, you do have some solace in the fact that I believe Rob Manfred, the MLB commissioner, came out and said, hey, we want to make it work in Tampa Bay. We're committed to the fans in Tampa Bay. And in that case, I would say, well, you want to keep the Rays in Tampa Bay. That seems to be the only answer there. It doesn't make sense for the Rays to relocate to another city, another state, and then bring in a expansion team, and you got to build that new fan base back again. So, yeah, it's kind of crazy what's going on.
Yes, it is.
The Rays are a unique organization. They're a smart organization, and they do things a little bit differently. So,
Kevin Weiss, co-host of the Locked On Rays podcast, Locked On Rays. You can follow Kevin on X at Kevin Weiss _. He joins us on the American Paint Supplies Hotline, your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. And Kevin, for whatever reason, it's not working where you can hear my co-host. So I'll just ask the final question. So there was a Hillsborough County commissioner who went on JP Peterson's show yesterday and said, hey, the Ybor City thing, we still got the plans, we still got the land, and yeah, we got the money. If this thing goes down on December 17th, we can keep the Rays. We can do it in Hillsborough County. First off, was that just grandstanding on a sports radio show in your estimation? And secondly, Steve Carney and many others in your market have said, yeah, if money goes to the Rays, then the Bucs are going to jump ahead of the line, and there ain't enough money for both of them. Just curious, do you think Tampa at the last minute is still a viable option to keep the franchise?
Yeah, I think that's kind of a long shot. because that's been the whole issue is the county and the city couldn't put up quite as much of a sweetheart deal as Pinellas County could for whatever reason. And I think that, the Rays have always complained, and I guess to some extent rightly so, that, St. Petersburg is a bad location. It's not an ideal location. You have to cross the bridge. It's not where most of the Tampa Bay population is centrally located. That would be in Tampa. But, the whole idea from what's been explained to me is that it made financial sense to stay in St. Petersburg because of the Rays being able to capitalize on the historic gas plant redevelopment dollars that come in. So at that point, who cares if you only average 15, 16, 17,000 fans a night, as, they've done for so many years now, and rank, 28th, 27th in attendance. It's going to be such a windfall from everything else coming in. But, if for some reason the Rays have some really good lawyers on call and on command that can, allow them to keep a piece of the pie, the redevelopment, and still build in Tampa or Hillsborough, then that would be a great win for them. I think it's unlikely at this point, but I'll never say never. I know that, the mayor in some private conversations has talked about, hey, it's not over till it's over, but I think that it's kind of an uphill battle. This year in 2025 will really be a good test case for how well the Rays do in Hillsborough County and playing at Steinbrenner Field. And again, Steinbrenner Field, the spring training home of the Yankees, only holds about 11,000, but they better sell out every game, and they'll be able to see how much support and money they can make from that. I imagine they're going to, increase the ticket prices exponentially as well as the parking, but it should be, I would imagine there'd be a lot of support, and maybe when Tampa and Hillsborough County see that support and some of the additional income that comes from that with hotel bed stays and restaurant sales and things of that nature, that, they might say, okay, maybe we'll put forth a little bit of money, or we can circulate some other funds here and there. But I think it's a tough call right now. Simultaneously, without the Rays in St. Petersburg this year, it would also, I guess it'll be too late in the ball game after, when the 2025 season is all done. But I would think that St. Pete in Pinellas County will be able to see what type of economic impact the Rays actually have to their region, because they won't have baseball games, Major League Baseball games,
right,
in that area. So they'll be able to see how much are we really losing by not having the Rays here? How much are we really gaining by not by having the Rays or not having the Rays here? So that'll be an interesting dynamic. I know that Hillsborough Commissioner Ken Hagan, he's always been a champion for bringing the Rays to more central Tampa. But I would think that that would still be a workable option, because you still have the Rays in Tampa Bay. But I find that hard to believe at this point, unless we can see some hard figures on how much money can actually be thrown out there right now.
Kevin Weiss, he co-hosts the Locked On Rays podcast, Locked On Rays. You can follow Kevin on X at KevinWeiss _WEISS_. Kevin, as always, thanks for your time and your insight. Hopefully we can do this again.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime, guys. Thank you.
Kevin Weiss joining us here on Miller and Moulton. You still there?
I'm still here. I was here the whole time. I'm not sure.
I saw you. I saw your lips moving and everything. I heard you, the question. It's just that he couldn't hear you, apparently. Huh.
Gonna have to find an engineer to fix this.
I think it was the chair.
Okay. You could be right.
If you had gone with the wider chair, I think that would have helped. Roy Cummings is next.
Visit Jason and Todd at the Diamond District.
It's time for one of the biggest diamond events of the year, right in your backyard. Join Jason and Todd at the Diamond District this weekend, Friday, November 22nd through Sunday the 24th, featuring GIA certified diamonds, diamond stud earrings, hoops, huggies, bracelets, diamond necklaces, anniversary bands, gemstone jewelry, and Rolex watches. Plus, Barry Verragio, founder of Verragio, one of America's top bridal designers, will join the Diamond District with his entire collection.
The Cape Coral Police Department is growing.
They are currently looking for police officers and are offering a $10,000 signing bonus to newly hired officers. If you desire a career in law enforcement, or if you are already in law enforcement and thinking about making a move to a better agency, think Cape Coral Police Department. If you're looking for a police department that is committed to excellence, that invests in the highest level of training, state-of-the-art equipment, and some of the highest compensation in all of Southwest Florida, then the Cape Coral Police Department is for you. Visit capecops.com. That's capecops.com. Sleep problem but don't want to wear a CPAP mask? This is Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. The mask wasn't working for me, and I didn't think I had an alternative. I do. We all do. They have such simple alternatives with greater success than the mask. Visit sleeptreatmentdirect.com. That's sleeptreatmentdirect.com. And if you are like me and your CPAP machine isn't working for you, it's time for a change. Call 239-444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and sound. American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
Gentlemen, as your wife mentioned getting new flooring, but you don't want to go through the hassle, well, go see the Floor Meisters in Naples next to Costco. They understand your time and money are important, so they'll make it as painless as possible. With a huge in-stock selection of carpet and Cortec, they can get you the floor your wife's been asking for. They carry wood, vinyl, carpet, and tile. If you do it yourself, no problem. They can handle that as well. So go see TJ at the Floor Meisters and tell them, just keeping it real.
Mark Miller for Molly Maid. Why Molly Maid, you ask? Trust. Moulton was a customer for 15 years. Affordability. Didn't I just say Moulton was a customer for 15 years? Worry-free services. Our professional house cleaners are fully insured and a 24-hour warranty. Call Molly Maids today at 239-774-5839. That's 239-774-5839 or online at mollymaid.com/FTMYERS. That's mollymaid.com/FTMYERS.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Morning.
Hey guys, how we doing?
Good. How are
Good.
you?
I'm good, my friend. I'm good.
All right.
Enjoying
Just us and a few hundred people on Twitch. Your take as a resident on this Rays situation.
Oh, why am I not surprised that it's turned into an absolute mess? And I think it probably results in, right now, I would say it's a 50-50 shot that they keep the team here. I think it's just as likely that they end up now in Nashville, Portland, Charlotte, take your pick, because they got to play somewhere. And I think the one hope there is, there's still hope that Tampa can come through here and get something done.
Well, Steve Carney has said, and you live in Hillsborough, correct?
Yeah, I live in Tampa.
Right. He has always contended that the minute that somebody starts to bring up getting public money for the Rays, that the Bucs will jump up and go, yeah, I don't think so. We're first.
Yeah, well, they already built the Bucs one stadium, and they built the second one as well, the community. So I don't know that the Bucs have a whole lot to say there. But the public money is the whole issue. Is, this day and age, there just aren't that many teams, putting their hand out to communities. When hockey teams are worth $1.9 billion on average, Major League Baseball teams are worth, 10 times that. It just, there just isn't a whole lot of sympathy for these teams to come out, with their hand out saying, help me build this stadium. And I don't know that this community is going to do it either. So, I really think it's incumbent on the Rays to build their own stadium and build it where you think the team is going to be, draw the most fans, which in my opinion is Tampa, and see if it could work. It's really unfortunate.
It really is, because we're going to get to a point where they're going to leave. And I'm with you. I always thought it would have been better in Tampa, but we'll never find out.
Yeah, exactly. We may never find out. And that's really sad. And, at some point, look, Major League Baseball doesn't want to lose the market, obviously, because I think, it knows it's a better market probably than Portland or Charlotte or Nashville. But at some point, you got to throw up your hands and say, look, if the community doesn't want to work to keep it, then what are you going to do? And look, St. Pete may still come through and get this done, but the Rays put every obstacle in front of them that they can, and it's just a mess.
All right. Gut feeling, though. Even if this vote passes, and apparently the city of St. Pete votes today on whether or not to pay to clean up the Trop.
Yeah.
Okay, but the county votes on December 17th. If they vote to pass it, I mean, Stu and the Rays make it sound like they're out anyway.
Yes, and they've done that before. Look, they have never pretended as if they love this market. And maybe they don't because, they can't draw any people there. But the whole problem is that it's a bad building in an area that's very difficult to get to. It's not that it's a bad neighborhood. It's just that it's hard to get to, for anybody who doesn't live in South Tampa or Pinellas County.
Although I got to admit, we love it in Charlotte and Lee and Collier County. There's the 575, take the thing, pull right off, bada bing, bada boom.
But coming the other way, which is where most of the people are.
I know.
It's a mess.
Yeah, it's a mess. It's awful.
Yep. All right. Hey, we'll talk some football.
Okay.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, coming at you from the Floor Meister Studios. Floor Meisters, keeping it real. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Halfway home in the 239 and the 904, the final hour of Miller and Moulton in Charlotte County and surrounding areas, Lake City and surrounding areas. And we begin every Thursday at this hour with one of our favorites, Roy Cummings. R. Cummings, FHCN is how you follow him on X. He covers the Bucs. And he joins us on the American Paint Supplies Hotline, your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. So how was your bye week? Did you ignore the NFL on Sunday, or did you actually go, you know what? I'm going to soak up as many of the other teams as I can.
I decided to take a look at what some good teams look like. It was fun not having to watch the Bucs and get a look at some other teams and really focus in on them. So I did that, and there were some good games out there. That Kansas City Buffalo game was as good as it gets, and the Bears and Packers was interesting. Bears continue to try to destroy quarterbacks with lots of talent. So. There's a lot of stuff going on out there in this league besides what's happening in Tampa.
Well, and for a bye week, it couldn't have gone much better.
Yeah.
Tampa Bay, the Falcons lose. Evans looks as if he's coming back this week. They got a break because Atlanta got blown out, and now they can come out of the bye and say the division still is a possibility.
Not only did they get a refresher, but they got a reprieve, it seems. So, good for the Bucs. They've got to take advantage of it now. And look, they've played some pretty good football here the last two games. That's the thing that I think you got to keep track of is that, even though they lost, which is unfortunate, and I mean, that's what it all comes down to, they played extremely well. They were in position to obviously beat San Francisco and Kansas City, just couldn't quite finish it off. As I said, last week, I think they figured some things out defensively. If they don't take a step back there, I think they've got a chance to do some damage going forward because the offense looks strong even without Chris Godwin and Mike Evans. And now Evans should be back, and he might be a little bit limited. The thing I worry about with Mike Evans, that hamstring is a perpetual problem for him. If it doesn't happen during the season, he misses a week or two in spring training. I'll be all right in training camp, and with it, he's always got an issue with it. So you got to be careful with that. I hope they're not rushing him back too soon, and he does further damage and is out another 3 weeks. But if they've got him back and he's healthy, I think this team could do some damage because again, the schedule, as we said last week, very favorable for him going forward.
Bucs are 4-6, but we think they'll be favored in 6 of their final 7, and they're a 6-point favorite for what it's worth Sunday in Jersey against the Giants. What do you think they have figured out defensively? What have you noticed?
Well, they're not blitzing as much, which is interesting. So they've had to rely on, standard formations, regular formations as they call them, and just playing the defense. And I think what's happened is, you're actually seeing some of the guys up front get some pressure without, the blitz. And we're seeing, Kalijah Cansey play a little bit better. I actually saw Joe Triumph-Schenken in the backfield with his hand in the quarterback's face, disrupting a pass 2 weeks ago. So I think that's part of it. And I think the linebackers are playing a little bit smarter. For whatever reason, it just seemed like, guys like maybe J.J. Russell and some of those guys, it just took a while for them to kind of figure out, okay, what's my key here? Where do I go? Where do I not go? And I think that's helped them a lot. And they're just getting a little bit better play. Now, the one thing they still haven't done, guys, that I think they've got to do more than anything, they got to take the ball away. This team, and I haven't looked at the stats, maybe I should have, but this team does not take the ball away, and they've got to do that. They've got to steal a possession or two away from the other team to help themselves defensively, and obviously give their offense another opportunity or two. And I think if that starts to happen, well, then you could see this team really, take a commanding control of this division.
The secondary has not been what it's been cracked up to be, though, Roy. This was supposed to be an area that was supposed to be much improved. It hasn't been. And when you talk about takeaways, this would be an area where hopefully the secondary coming out of this bye week can figure out a little something and maybe get a couple of picks, because it has not been what we expected this year. Yeah,
I agree with that. And again, that's, I'm speaking again to the picks, and they just haven't been there. And one thing, that I don't know how Todd Bowles feels about this, but it seems to me like they're tackling a little bit better in the secondary. And I think, we go back to the defense and what's been better there is I do think for the most part, they've been tackling a little bit better, not giving as much yardage after the catch and after the, initial contact. The run game, the run defense has been better. And a lot of that is because safeties are coming up and filling the gaps. So I think, again, position football, assignment football, I think they're better at. I think that's where they've been better, is they're just better with their assignments. Now it's a matter of execution and, keeping your eyes on the ball and taking it away. Again, if they can do that, it could be a big turnaround for them on that side of the ball defensively.
Bucs taking on the Giants, who have made a quarterback change, and an interesting one at that. They didn't go to the backup, who they paid $5 million for. They went to the third stringer, the Colt hero, if you will. What is interesting, though, about him, Roy, based on what we saw last year, where he went 3-3 as a starter, is that he'll chuck it. Yeah. He will go downfield. He is the anti-Daniel Jones, who will not go downfield and is cautious, to the point of it's cost him his career, at least with the Giants. Tommy DeVito will challenge the Bucs secondary. He will throw it downfield. Now, the good part of that is, Roy, there will probably be a couple interceptions to be had Sunday.
Mm-hmm. Right. No, I totally agree. And I think that's the reason they went to Tommy DeVito and not to the $5 million option, because they see a quarterback here. Look, Giants are in a position where if you're going to change quarterbacks, you need to win the game. You need to win the game. And who gives them the best opportunity to win this week at quarterback? Well, it may be Tommy DeVito, just because of what you said. Here's a guy who can throw the ball deep, who can find those openings that the Bucs seem to give up all the time. And if they can't cover properly, well, then you're going to have an opportunity here to make some big plays. And I think that's what they're looking to do. I think they feel like, that's probably their best option, is to throw deep, challenge the secondary that hasn't been very good, hasn't taken the ball away, and see what you can get out of it. Wouldn't surprise me at all if we see a dozen throws of 20 yards or more down the field from Tommy DeVito this week. I think they're going to take every opportunity, because it's always a bit of a flip of the coin. Either you make the play, you don't make the play, or somebody gets called for pass interference, and the Bucs are going to be, probably in position to get 2 or 3 of those this week. So, again, if they've worked on some things in this off week in the secondary and they're a little bit better positionally, or at least execution wise, it may backfire on the Giants. But I think that's the reason the Giants went to DeVito's, because they see a quarterback here who can take advantage of a defense, a secondary in particular, that is vulnerable to a deep pass.
Well, I guess I'm off base with the two of you, because I think they put DeVito in because it gives them the best chance to lose. I think that Dable and Sean are told that they got next year as their job, and they need a quarterback. I mean, this is tanking without tanking to me. And if the Bucs don't take advantage, it's organizational malpractice if they don't win this football game. I mean, this isn't just a must win. This is an absolute win to me, Roy.
Yeah, it is, and I totally agree. And look, the Bucs just can't stub their toe here. You've got a team that is down. You've got you don't have your foot on their neck, but the league overall does. They are down. They're gasping for breath. You can't give them CPR here. So you got to go out and just play as if you're a championship caliber team beating up on a lesser team. You got to take advantage. It's a mental thing more than anything for the Bucs this week.
The Giants are a bad team, but they have a young wide receiver who I think is a legitimate number one receiver in Neighbors. How do the Bucs cover a number one receiver? I mean, do they have a cornerback that you feel confident saying, hey, follow him all over the field? Because, I mean, they spent big money on the safety, but, like to me, Roy, in years past, I always thought they gave Carlton Davis that role. They said, here, they go take him.
Yeah.
Okay. What do they do with number one receivers now?
Well, it's changed a little bit because there was a lot of one-on-one coverage when they were blitzing, because you have to do a one-on-one if you're going to blitz the way the Bucs were. Now they're not blitzing as much, so they're keeping the safety up top, playing a little more cover two and a little more quarters defense. And and again, then it's just a matter of discipline. So I think they probably stay in a zone. They hope that their four rushers get there. Maybe a linebacker covers, or rushes. But more than anything, I think they're going to want their linebackers to drop back. Russell's pretty good at it. They seem to be happy with what he's doing, which leaves the outside guys to concentrate on Neighbors. So again, I think it's a corner, basically giving off him to the safety, and the safeties, there's got to make sure they're on the right page. I think they're going to zone it. I don't think they're going to do a lot of one-on-one, because again, who would you put one-on-one against Neighbors? Who do you feel comfortable with right now? Probably nobody. Christian is in. I don't know. It's a tough call. So I think the best thing to do, the smartest thing to do, play zone. Don't give up the big plays. Make sure you've got somebody in the back who's going to prevent the 70-yard touchdown pass, and just play it smart and make sure. Monty Kiffin used to have a theory. If you could force it, this was back when he started series at the 20-yard line. He said his thought was always, if I force a team to go 80 yards in 12 plays, somewhere along the line, they're going to make a mistake, at least one. And I think that's how the Bucs are starting to look at it now. If we let if a team has to go 75, 65 yards against us in 8 or 9 plays, somewhere along the line, especially a team like the Giants, they're going to make a mistake. And that's what we have to count on. So keep everything in front of you. Don't get burned. And play a good, smart zone position assignment defense.
Roy Cummings. Follow him on X, R Cummings FHCN, R Cummings FHCN. Tampa Bay at 4-6. It's a must. Gotta win the games in which they're favored on the schedule. They're going to have a bunch of them. They can't afford a screw up, including Sunday against the Giants. Roy, thanks for your time as always, and we'll talk again next week.
Enjoyed it, guys. Thanks for having me.
We'll have to figure it out schedule-wise, with obviously next Thursday being Thanksgiving. Might have to, going to have to do a lot of communicating with a whole bunch of people. Going to have to compress 5 days worth of guests into 3.
Get to work, Moulton. This one's on you.
It is.
I get the podcast up. You get the guests.
Yep, that is true.
So grind it out there, big fella.
I'm working on it already. They're big, not as big as me, fella.
Top of the head's getting grayer even thinking about it. That's all I know.
I'm looking like creepy older guy.
In fact, we got a text that said, never met David, but I don't get the creepy old guy vibes from him, from a woman.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Maybe just my wife feels that way. Well, I've been married this long. Maybe she's like Stu Sternberg. She wants another option. Miller and Moulton. We started our show 18 years ago and have been fired 3 times, but Miller and Moulton have never lived on the edge like we are now. We have our best morning ratings ever, are steadily adding affiliates, yet we only have a few sponsors. And if that doesn't change, we can't continue. But if you want to advertise on Miller and Moulton, reach out to one of us directly by texting sponsor to 21,000 or contact Mark on X at that Mark Miller or me at the David Moulton. You can save Miller and Moulton and make your business some serious money by texting 21,000 now.
American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
Visit Jason and Todd at the Diamond District.
It's time for one of the biggest diamond events of the year, right in your backyard. Join Jason and Todd at the Diamond District this weekend, Friday, November 22nd through Sunday the 24th, featuring GIA certified diamonds, diamond stud earrings, hoops, huggies, bracelets, diamond necklaces, anniversary bands, gemstone jewelry, and Rolex watches. Plus, Barry Verragio, founder of Verragio, one of America's top bridal designers, will join the Diamond District with his entire collection.
Gentlemen, as your wife mentioned getting new flooring, but you don't want to go through the hassle, well, go see the Floor Meisters in Naples next to Costco. They understand your time and money are important, so they'll make it as painless as possible. With a huge in-stock selection of carpet and Cortec, they can get you the floor your wife's been asking for. They carry wood, vinyl, carpet, and tile. If you do it yourself, no problem. They can handle that as well. So go see TJ at the Floor Meisters and tell them, just keeping it real.
This is Miller and Moulton.
T. Haynes, I think it depends on how, like, if they win 5 of their last 7 and go 9-8 and miss the playoffs, no, he will not be let go. I mean, he's made the playoffs 2 years in a row, won a playoff game last year. No, in my estimation. Now, it would be interesting if they reached out back channels and a Vrabel or a Belichick or somebody like that actually would love to take over that situation. That's a different story.
Do you know we're not going to cash in on a Nebraska over ticket?
I can't believe it. I can't believe it.
For that matter, we're not going to cash in on an Iowa over ticket either.
What the best thing goes, what, 8-4?
I mean, Iowa they can still get over if they win out, but do you really expect them to?
They'd have to beat the Gophers, right?
Yes. No, Maryland and Nebraska is who they play. Iowa already played Minnesota.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton. Text the guys what's in your mind at 21,000. That's 21000. And now, here's David Moulton.
21 minutes past the hour. There will be no Dr. Roto today. He's got a family situation, and he said, hey, can we do it Friday? And we said, of course. So plus, let's be honest, this is not a huge fantasy game. I mean, help me out here, Mark. You're the one that plays fantasy of the two of us. Pickens.
He plays. I I guess there could be a question if you've got good running backs of what you do with Najee. I mean, there could be some things there, but it's one game. You're on your own for your decisions for tonight. For those of you that have Steelers and Browns in your lineup, we will have Dr. Roto on the show tomorrow which is a huge bye week. So it's a tough fantasy week because there are a lot of teams. I think 6 teams have byes this week, David.
And you're getting close to, do you start thinking about maneuvers for the playoffs, right? Because you're just a couple weeks away from that.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm really going to be involved in those discussions.
Gotcha.
I had the best week. No one cares about your team, but I had the best week I had all year, only to face the team that had the highest point total of the season.
There you go.
And they took me down, which is going to – I'm the Bucs, David. I've got to win out to make the playoffs. But you play, if you've got Pittsburgh's kicker, you play him because he's a point machine.
My goodness. And they're settling for a lot of field goals. That is true. Steelers, 3.5-point favorites tonight in Cleveland. It's interesting, an 8-2 team on a 5-game winning streak against a 2-8 team. And they're only a 3.5-point favorite. How much of that is the Thursday night factor? Think about the difference between the Steelers and the Ravens. Ravens are playing Monday night, coming off the game against Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh playing on Thursday night, coming off the game against Baltimore. Big disadvantage for the Steelers. Better opponent, playing the 2-8 Browns with short travel versus playing the Chargers with 3,000-mile travel. But, whew. So
that is a significant difference for the two teams that played that physical game, Steelers and Ravens. I didn't think about it. And obviously the Ravens are going up against the Chargers, which is going to be not as physical as a Steelers-Ravens game. But come on now. They are playing. That's back-to-back really tough style games that the Ravens have to play.
Yes. Fortunately, though, they'll have plenty of time to prepare for both. MillerandMoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X, Miller and Moulton broadcasting live from the Floormeister studios. Floormeisters, just keeping it real. JP Shadrick to join us coming up at the top of the hour. So the thought now is, Mark, where I would say a month ago, the thought was we weren't going to have a lot of coaching vacancies because we've had 2 years now with a ton of coaching vacancies. And we don't know how many general manager vacancies we're going to have because we had a lot a couple years ago. Now the thought around league circles in the NFL is that, we're going to have a ton of openings for both. Get ready. Here it comes. Well, think about it. Jets need both. They've already fired both. Saints have fired their head coach. All right. The Giants, both those guys are on shaky ground, no matter what the owner came out and said 3 weeks ago. I mean, your gut feeling. They go 3-14, 4-13. These two survive?
I think they're going to survive. I believe what I just said. I think there was a meeting of the minds, and they went with DeVito because it gives them the best shot to have the best draft pick. If it was about winning, they would have gone with Locke. I think that they're safe, David.
Okay. So Dallas going to need a new head coach. We know the owner's not going to get rid of the GM. They need a new GM, but that ain't going to happen. But they're going to have a new head coach. Bears,
could have both.
I was going to say tough to envision they don't, at the very least, have a new head coach, but I don't know. General manager? Now, the Bears are cheap. They don't like paying people to not work for them. He did hire Eberflus, didn't he? I'm pretty sure he did. I'm pretty sure that was his first big decision as GM. And he's made it some good personnel moves. He has. But, it's still a flawed roster to some degree. They definitely need a new coach.
The Raiders could be in position for a new coach.
Yeah, that to me will be interesting. That to me, the word is Brady may only own 5% of the team, but he's going to have a lot of influence. A lot of influence in the decisions and the direction that the franchise takes. A lot. And then step out of the way during the season and broadcast games.
Does Cincinnati have a new coach?
Boy, it's getting hot. People want change there. They're fed up. They want change. Back-to-back appearances in an AFC championship game in 21 and 22. And 2 years later, moving on from that. But they want to blame somebody. And they feel as if their window is closed. So you might as well bring in a new coach because it's going to take time to open up a whole new window. Do you know Burrow has had 3 games this year where he's thrown for over 300 yards, 3 or more touchdowns, and no interceptions that they've lost? Do you know how many times Brady did that in his career? 300-plus yards passing, 3 or more touchdowns, no interceptions, and lost?
I'm going to guess never.
It did happen.
Okay.
Twice in his whole career. It's happened to Burrow 3 times this season. We're 11 games into it.
That's remarkable.
Also, let you know why Burrow's in such a bad mood these days. Him and Jamar Chase. I will say that those are interviews you want to pay attention to. Jamar Chase after the game and the next day. I know, diva wide receiver. I got it. But when he goes, hey, don't ask me. Ask the coaches. All right. That's on them. Don't ask me.
By the way, that's a fair answer. What do you think of the play calling? Ask the coach. I don't call the damn plays.
I don't. Nope.
It's a terrible question for a wide receiver. To a quarterback, it's a fair question. He can audible. They communicate with one another. But to a receiver, it's a ridiculous question. Because what's the receiver going to say? I'm open on every play. We know that. Just ask him.
There aren't 3 receivers better than him either. I mean, I think he and Jefferson are the 2 best in the league. I think you can decide who you want to put in the bronze medal position, but I think they're the 2 best. That's who I want to throw the ball to. Down and distance, I don't care. I might go A.J. Brown third when healthy, but, I mean, and I know we got a lot of wide receivers in the league. I get it. But
that's probably, to me, the hardest position to try to rank in order because on a week-to-week basis, what guys are able to do. St. Brown seems to catch every ball that's thrown at him.
That's a good bronze medalist right there.
Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Don't know if he's got the explosiveness that Jefferson and Chase have, but it catches everything and is seemingly open all the time. It's not like defenses don't know where he is, and he's still open.
He was targeted 11 times against the Jags and caught all 11 balls.
Well,
I know, but quarterbacks
that
I've listened to talk about, that's hard to do in practice. And you could argue all they were doing against the Jags was a glorified practice.
Hello.
JP Shadrick in 30 minutes.
Who will say, no, guys, really keep going. I've had to talk about this for 3 days already this week. Yeah, they're moving on to other things here. Not a question of if, but when, and can we get Fred Taylor in the Hall of Fame? That's where Jacksonville has moved on in terms of the Jags. Miller and Moulton, thanks for being with us.
Mark Miller for Molly Maid. Why Molly Maid, you ask? Trust. Moulton was a customer for 15 years. Affordability. Didn't I just say Moulton was a customer for 15 years? Worry-free services. Our professional house cleaners are fully insured and a 24-hour warranty. Call Molly Maids today at 239-774-5839. That's 239-774-5839 or online at mollymaid.com/FTMYERS. That's mollymaid.com/FTMYERS. Sleep problem but don't want to wear a CPAP mask? This is Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. The mask wasn't working for me, and I didn't think I had an alternative. I do. We all do. They have such simple alternatives with greater success than the mask. Visit sleeptreatmentdirect.com. That's sleeptreatmentdirect.com. And if you are like me and your CPAP machine isn't working for you, it's time for a change. Call 239-444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and sound.
Visit Jason and Todd at the Diamond District.
It's time for one of the biggest diamond events of the year, right in your backyard. Join Jason and Todd at the Diamond District this weekend, Friday, November 22nd through Sunday the 24th, featuring GIA certified diamonds, diamond stud earrings, hoops, huggies, bracelets, diamond necklaces, anniversary bands, gemstone jewelry, and Rolex watches. Plus, Barry Verragio, founder of Verragio, one of America's top bridal designers, will join the Diamond District with his entire collection.
The Cape Coral Police Department is growing. They are currently looking for police officers and are offering a $10,000 signing bonus to newly hired officers. If you desire a career in law enforcement, or if you are already in law enforcement and thinking about making a move to a better agency, think Cape Coral Police Department. If you're looking for a police department that is committed to excellence, that invests in the highest level of training, state-of-the-art equipment, and some of the highest compensation in all of Southwest Florida, then the Cape Coral Police Department is for you. Visit capecops.com. That's capecops.com.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Yeah, did you see that? Where the cheapest Texas A&M chicken Backsburg is ticket is like just under $600.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton. Text the guys what's in your mind at 21,000. That's 21000. And now, here's David Moulton.
22 minutes till the top of the hour. That's when the Diamond District bonus hour will get underway with JP Shadrick here on Miller and Moulton.
I think we should let JP pick the topic today.
I agree.
Well, JP, what do you want to talk about? Because we know it's not the Jags.
No, it'll probably be the college football playoff committee and what have you.
That's fine.
It could also be, beers. He might go, off the reservation with us.
Find out what his favorite side dish is. We may not, you got to jam all these guests in next week. He's a Thursday guest. I don't know if we'll have JP next week.
You admitted that you were very fortunate during the 15 plus years that you did play-by-play for hockey teams, that you never had a bad team.
One team I worked for missed the playoffs. My 1 year in Raleigh, North Carolina, we stunk.
Oh, okay. The 1 year?
1 year.
So just curious if you can remember back. You were younger then, so you're probably still pretty excited about, calling the games and what have you. But I'm just curious, did your effort, your preparation, was it less?
Mine wasn't. I don't even think, and I really don't think, looking back at that year, that there was ever an effort problem of the players. There just was a lack of talent problem. We weren't good enough.
But I was just, because, and I've done a lot of play-by-play over a longer period of time, although the only teams I was ever associated with were college basketball teams. I did some college baseball play-by-play on a semi-regular basis, but I didn't have a lot of bad teams either. And me, I'm a goober. So my preparation is the same whether the team's 29-0 or 0-29. I mean, me. Like last night, Jacksonville men's basketball team, I do their road games, but because of some health situations, I didn't go to Virginia Tech last night. And sure enough, they came from 10 down at the half and won in Blacksburg. I mean, I eat that stuff up. Me. I mean, I would have been flying whatever hotel room I would have been in, I would have been bouncing off the walls today.
Absolutely.
I love that stuff. But, JP's been in Jacksonville like a dozen years now. They've had like 3 winning seasons during his time here. He might have even been there longer than that now. In fact, I think he has been there longer because I think he was there before Mr. Khan. I mean, do you imagine you've covered the Jags long term and now here you are again? What do you say? What do you write?
Right. What do you, I mean, you're doing, and he does pre and post.
Right. And
He's supposed to get people excited about the broadcast for a couple of hours when they come on at, 11 or whenever it is they come on for a 1:00 game.
And he does 2 shows during the week on Jaguars.com. Now, the funny thing is he does it with Tony Baselli and Pete Prisco, and they're killing the Jags. Well, Baselli played for him as a Hall of Famer, and Pete Prisco's national, based out of Jacksonville, and Pete don't care. Okay,
Pete treats them the way he would treat the New York Giants, the way he would treat the LA Rams. It doesn't matter. He's
right.
going to shoot straight. Absolutely.
Yeah. But I don't want to psychoanalyze JP from afar here, but I'll bet he's just miserable. Like, really? I got to go through this again? I finally thought we were going to be good. Back-to-back winning seasons. We got a young quarterback. He can play a little bit. We can debate how much. Some people hate him. Some people think he's really good in a really bad spot. Yeah, okay. Well, I guess we'll find out over the next few years if it's one or the other. But
there ever been any questions of Trevor of whether or not he loves the game? I mean, what questions are coming up there in Jacksonville because we know that he has talent, but is he the football junkie that they want him to be?
I think it would help him with certain segments of the fan base if he was just a little more intense. I think the fan base, which is tired of losing, which is, pre-Trevor, so they're more damaged, if you will, that they're I think they wish that Trevor was behaving like Joe Burrow. Now, I think they also wish he was performing like Joe Burrow, but I think they wish he was behaving like Joe Burrow. I do, because that's where they are, because they've suffered a lot more losing than he has. But, that's just an observation from afar. They are 3-14 in their last 17 games.
Yes, they are.
After winning the division in 2022 and winning a playoff game. And then they were 8-3 at this point last year. 8-3. So who's really good right now in the NFL? Whether there's 7-4 or better, who's really good right now? And which we go, by the way, they're going to go 3-14 in their next 17 games. 7-4 or better. Who do you got?
Washington, Houston, Baltimore, Chargers, Green Bay, Pittsburgh, Minnesota, Philadelphia, Buffalo, Kansas City, and Detroit.
Oh, that's a lot of teams, 7-4 or better. You got a team out there you'd circle right now that's going to go 3-14 in their next 17?
No.
I mean, at 3-14.
I'll throw Arizona and Atlanta, who have winning records, in Denver, who have winning records on that as well.
See, but we're going too far down. Remember, they were tied for the 1 seed at this point last year. And they've gone 3-14. I mean, this isn't quite as bad as Florida State, but I mean, they're dealing with the same real estate agent. They're in a different neighborhood, but they're not that far away. I mean, this is wow. Not only that, this usually happens when a team gets old and you see it right before your eyes. Like, people are wondering if that's the Niners. Like, wow, did the window close? Turns out they didn't have another year or so left in them. Huh, it's over. We don't know, but people are now starting to wonder.
It is a fall from the top of which we may not see for a long time in this league.
I mean, I know you just rattled them off, but I'll do it a touch slower. We'll go division by division. Eagles or Commanders? Could you see either one of them going 3-14 in their next 17 games?
Not without a quarterback getting injured.
Well, but I mean, Trevor was banged up last year.
Banged up, but he didn't miss.
Right. He missed a game. Right. He missed a game, and he's missed 2 so far this year.
This isn't Peyton with his neck missing a season.
Right. Exactly. And falling off the cliff, and then they draft Andrew Luck. Like the Spurs year. David Robinson gets hurt, they go from the top to the bottom and they draft Duncan. Right. I mean, Vikings next year. Darnold leaves, they go with J.J. McCarthy. But also, it has to start right now. The 3-14 has to start right now. You're like, which one of these teams are you're like, oh, yeah, this is a fraud. Beginning right now, they're going to start falling apart. Minnesota, Green Bay. We're not going to say Detroit, obviously. So keep on going. Atlanta, is that a candidate? Has the slide actually started? But 3-14, we're talking here.
Right. Atlanta was 6-4. They just got blown out by Denver.
And I think they were 6-3. I could be wrong, but I
yeah,
thought
they played Kansas City the week before. Is that right?
I thought they lost 2 in a row. But now here's an interesting. I will say this. I mean, maybe Atlanta's a candidate that they don't finish this year well, and they move on from Cousins and they turn it over to Penix, and it just doesn't work for the first year of him as the quarterback. Man, but think of 3-14. And you even threw Arizona in the mix, which to me, they didn't meet the threshold, but they are leading the division at 6-4. I mean, we've seen it. That team in a year and a half, say whatever you want. I know the NFL is not moral victories. Mark, they've played 27 games for that head coach. What's their effort been in 27 games?
It's been an A effort every single week. All last year, despite being a bad football team, they played everyone tough.
Hard. Yes.
In fact, I read an article a couple weeks ago, that was comparing the Cardinals where they were just 2 weeks ago to where the Lions were a couple of years ago with how they've built it, that they've had a coach say some pretty goofy things. He had a presser early on in which he made some claims that got people all riled up,
right?
Similar to biting kneecaps like Campbell. And they just went through piece by piece and said, hey, be careful here. Arizona's doing similar things to what Detroit has done.
They've had 2 really good drafts in a row. They've had 2 really good off seasons in a row. Yes, they have. Yep. And when did you start to see it with Detroit? Second half of year 2. When are you starting to see it with Arizona? You actually saw it at the 1/3 poll of year 2. Because what have they won? 5 in a row here? Went from 1-4 to 6-4?
4 in a row.
4 in a row. Okay. All right. Now, quickly, AFC. Could you imagine it happening with the Bills? Hell no. All right. Steelers, Ravens.
Not with that defense in Pittsburgh. Not with Lamar in Baltimore. No way.
Now, I guess if Lamar got hurt, okay, 3-14 from this point forward. You know, you go to the South. I mean, could the Texans fall apart like the Jags have? Tough to envision. They're a lot younger. But then again, I guess if something happened to C.J. Stroud, I don't know. They seem it's just so far-fetched. And now you go, obviously, Kansas City, the Chargers, and even quite frankly, if you want to throw 6-5, Denver in the conversation. 3-14 from this point forward. I mean, it's
unprecedented, David. It really is.
This is Cher slapping Nicolas Cage. This is a cold shower. This is unflippin' believable. I mean, even Florida State's going, wow, guys, that's a bad stretch.
Well,
No, they just said it's a bad stretch. Okay. I mean, they didn't pile on or anything. They just commented it was, guys, we know a little something about really bad stretches, and you're having a bad stretch. So that's all.
That's where we're at with the Jags right now.
No. So I think you're right. I think you're onto something. We'll let JP dictate what it is he wants to talk about, because I can't imagine he wants to talk about the Jags. Can't imagine it. Especially since he's already had to do at least 2 talk shows this week. No way.
Callers must be fun on those talk shows.
Oh, my goodness. I'm curious. Here's another thing. Do you heavily screen the callers when your team is horrendous, or do you just let them rip?
No, you just let them rip because you're looking for content at this point, David.
John in St. James City, go.
This is that Buffalo caller. It wasn't about the Sabres. It wasn't about the Bills. It was about the Sabres, right?
Right.
The Buffalo caller a couple years ago that did like 7 minutes uninterrupted on a talk radio show with a call in.
And they let him go. Trash the ownership and the organization piece by piece. It was an epic takedown. Yeah, that was Act 2 for us. So it was a while ago.
So, no, I don't screen the callers at all.
You know me. I need name and city. Okay, I do. You know,
that's it.
That's all I need. We know what they're calling about. I mean, come on.
Tougher calls, Jags call-in show or FSU call-in show?
Wow. I actually think Jags, because I think the FSU fans at this point are numb. I don't even think they're listening to the call-in show. They're not even calling in anymore. Okay. But the Jags fan is honked, man. This came out of nowhere. They thought they were past this. They were going to have a run here. We're going to be pretty good. We're going to be competitive.
And we all thought it. It wasn't like Miller and Moulton are sitting there saying, the Jags are not going to. David picked them to be the 1 seed last year. I had them winning the division last year.
And at 8-3 hosting the Bengals, I was looking pretty damn smart. Thank you very much. Man.
It is an epic fall from grace. It really is.
I hope JP's not listening. He may disconnect and not come on. Okay, he may be like, screw this. I have this all damn day. What am I going to do 12 minutes with you two yahoos for?
Because we're going to let him pick what he wants to talk about.
I mean, maybe
he's 12 minutes on baseball right now. That's all I know.
That's true. He may want to talk. Okay, Scooble and Sale winning the Cy Young. He did baseball play-by-play for years. Yeah, JP Shadrick talking about the Rays Stadium deal coming up next. Yeah.
I mean, that's the positive in Jacksonville right now. They got a new stadium deal.
Right.
That's where it begins and ends for the moment.
Right. So, JP, Florida, Georgia, one more year, and then it's coming back in 2028. What do you think? I don't know. But we will. We'll let JP spin the topic wheel during the commercial break. Get to talk about whatever he wants because we feel badly for him. We really do. We'd give him a group hug. We'd buy him a drink. It's a little early, but, I think JP could be talked into it. We started our show 18 years ago and have been fired 3 times, but Miller and Moulton have never lived on the edge like we are now. We have our best morning ratings ever, are steadily adding affiliates, yet we only have a few sponsors. And if that doesn't change, we can't continue. But if you want to advertise on Miller and Moulton, reach out to one of us directly by texting sponsor to 21,000 or contact Mark on X at @MarkMiller or me at @TheDavidMoulton. You can save Miller and Moulton and make your business some serious money by texting 21,000 now.
American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
Gentlemen, as your wife mentioned getting new flooring, but you don't want to go through the hassle, well, go see the Floor Meisters in Naples next to Costco. They understand your time and money are important, so they'll make it as painless as possible. With a huge in-stock selection of carpet and Cortec, they can get you the floor your wife's been asking for. They carry wood, vinyl, carpet, and tile. If you do it yourself, no problem. They can handle that as well. So go see TJ at the Floor Meisters and tell them, just keeping it real.
Mark Miller for Molly Maid. Why Molly Maid, you ask? Trust. Moulton was a customer for 15 years. Affordability. Didn't I just say Moulton was a customer for 15 years? Worry-free services. Our professional house cleaners are fully insured and a 24-hour warranty. Call Molly Maids today at 239-774-5839. That's 239-774-5839 or online at mollymaid.com/FTMYERS. That's mollymaid.com/FTMYERS.
The world-famous cigar bar started as a neighborhood place in downtown Fort Myers, and now it's a brand, a destination with 4 locations. The original place, Henry Street, Fort Myers, Gulf Coast Town Center, on Southeast 47th Terrace off the Cape Coral Parkway, and the Lounge on West 1st Street in Fort Myers. A place to go, whether you just need a relaxing drink and a smoke after a tough day at work, or a place to go celebrate. From relaxation to celebration, the world famous cigar bar.
Honey, you want to come out? I haven't seen you since Glass Doctor installed our custom shower enclosure.
No thanks.
Well, you can't keep eating breakfast in the shower, and laminating your magazines is getting expensive. You remember we have guests coming over tonight, right?
Oh, I'm sure they'd love to see the shower.
It's our neighbors, and I highly doubt they want to be hanging out in our bathroom.
The shower's so good, you'll never want to leave. Visit glassdoctor.com today and schedule an appointment online.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Morning, JP.
Hey, what's going on?
Oh, just another day.
It is.
How about you?
Oh, I'm up here at Dad's house in Trustville, Alabama.
Ah,
hanging out bye week.
Good for you.
Yeah, it's good.
Good to spend time with Dad.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
How old's your father?
He just turned 77.
Good for you.
What?
Yeah.
Huh? What
Hi,
did I
Dave.
miss? What did I miss?
Nothing.
Okay.
JP's visiting his father. I asked him how old his dad was.
Oh, that's right. Good. Good. Did you hear any of that? We're going to play Spin the Topic Wheel. You get to talk
I
about
heard
whatever
the
you want.
whole thing.
We spin
Not
the
only do you come on for a segment, you were a topic before the segment.
I
JP.
logged in early today, and this is what I got. So yeah.
Just hey, we feel for you. I mean, I have to think though. Fortunately, with Baselli and Prisco, they can say everything that you're thinking, and you don't have to say a word. You just have to keep it moving.
All I do is poke them with a stick.
I think
And then
these
they
days
go.
you just open the door and make sure they're sitting in front of a mic.
As long as they show up at 4 o'clock, all I got to do is say, "Welcome, guys," and read a commercial every once in a while. I know my role. I'm good with that. I'm a role player.
Guys, hold on 1 second. This brought to you by Farrah and Farrah. Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
I hope you found some enjoyment out of that segment, though.
Oh, I love it. Yeah.
How's your dad?
It's good. It's good. Thank you. He's
Right.
He's good. Just had his birthday recently, so yeah, it's because I won't be able to get back for Thanksgiving or Christmas, so I figured I'd get up here while I can for a few days.
Do you normally get back for Christmas or Wednesday? Thanksgiving, obviously Thursday, but that's just too.
Last year was Christmas worked out because it was early. It was like Tuesday, I guess. So they gave us a bunch of days off early, so I made it up here for the first time in a long time. And they used to travel down some to see me, but those days kind of
right
are getting
far
away.
Yep.
Sorry, I
Yeah.
haven't shaven, by the way. I just looked at myself in the. Oof.
Well, you're a guest. You get to do whatever you want. It's bad enough I went like 10 days without shaving, and that was frightening.
That's what happens when you're 2-9. Things fall apart. You start losing your edge.
Even personal hygiene is
Let me
affected.
tell you, yeah. You don't even want to know.
No. We'll just leave it at that. Just that's the floor. I'll just stay there. Where's home again in Bama?
Trustville, just northeast of Birmingham.
Okay.
Probably 10 minutes to the airport.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, coming at you from the Floor Meister Studios. Floor Meisters, keeping it real. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
And the Diamond District bonus hour begins as it does every Thursday with JP Shadrick. He's joining us from, did you say Trustville, Alabama?
Truss, Trussville.
Trustville,
Yes, correct.
Alabama, which is apparently just outside of Birmingham. He's visiting his family. That's awesome. JP joining us on the American Paint Supplies Hotline, your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. Did you catch any of our last segment in which you ended up being a dominant topic of conversation?
I'll tell you what, you guys must have a lot going on today, because if that's the fact. And yes, I've been drunk for about 4 weeks already, okay? Like, I'm hammered. I don't know how I function without something in the morning right now. That's just what it is. No, it's where do I begin? You
don't have to begin.
No.
We're giving you an out. We're giving you spin the topic wheel.
I'm all in.
Okay.
All in, Dave. Okay, you know me. I'm all in.
I know.
I love to open the phone lines on postgame, because it is, we have a very light system where we have somebody answering the phones and, hey, what do you want to talk about? Okay. No, it doesn't always come through like that. There's no computer system. It's just like word of mouth, right? But we kind of let them go for a while, and they can get off the rails pretty quick when things are going as bad as they are right now. We're fortunate enough where, okay, our leadership doesn't mind criticism, and especially when it's open to the fans like that. That's what it is. So now we don't let them go for 15 minutes by themselves. We'll, if they start wandering on, we'll move along to get as many people in as we can. But those are interesting. Now, when it gets bad, to your point also, we've had seasons where we won the first game and lost the next 15. And okay, the last 3 weeks of that, week after Christmas, nobody cares anymore, and nobody's calling in anymore. The apathy is when it gets really bad. And we've had that. That certainly hasn't happened yet. There's enough to talk about right now that people are still engaged.
Are they angry, and who are they angry at, JP? I mean, I know they're angry. Who are they angry at right now?
They're angry at everybody but the janitor in the building. I mean, it's basically from the ownership down. Like, there are a lot of people's angst is towards Mr. Khan. I don't know how fair that is, considering everything that he has tried to do for this organization, or has done for this organization. You guys mentioned the stadium. That's priority number one. That's a done deal. He's given every resource possible for the football organization. Any player they wanted to sign, any extension they wanted, if it made sense, they felt like, okay, here's the money, let's do it. Like, he's all in. You can argue that he is loyal to a fault, right? And if that's a problem, okay, and maybe that's what it is, but that's what it is. So a lot of people are mad at him. A lot of people are mad at the GM still for not bolstering the depth of the team. A lot of people are mad at coaching and play calling. It's just, there's anger all over the place in a lot of different areas, and that's what it is. So especially without any changes after the worst loss in Jaguars history on Sunday in Detroit, that's a lot of people have brought out the pitchforks, let's say. So how long does that last? We'll see.
And I'm going to be serious. This may be the only time in this segment in which I'm going to be serious. The point that Miller and Moulton have been joking about, but sometimes you use comedy to bring up a serious point, is Mr. Khan and the Jags thought they had figured it out. They thought they had hired the right people. They thought they had put the right roster together. They thought, okay, we're going to have a sustainable period of success. We can define success however we want, but back-to-back winning seasons for the Jags hadn't happened in a generation. But JP, at this point a year ago, they are tied for the best record in the AFC. Okay? And they've gone 3-14 since. I mean, this is almost Florida State-esque here. I mean, this is unforeseen. We just went through the teams that are 7-4 or better in the NFL right now. Circle the one that you think is totally going to fall off the rails. Like if I'm Mr. Khan, there's a part of me that's like, I thought I had done all the right things and figured it out. Now I got to start over. What do I do?
Yeah, and it's not the first time that's happened, by the way. I mean, he's tried in a number of different ways and iterations to maybe get this thing right. And, they've had very brief glimpses of success. 2017, right? I mean, okay.
6 minutes from the Super Bowl, right?
Tom Coughlin, okay. This is the czar thing. And we got Marone and we got a GM and like Coughlin's the guy. Okay. And then they started paying the wrong guys. And that defense fell apart the next year after a good start again. And they weren't the same. And then we know what happened with the Urban thing, and then they even looking back at it, hindsight's great, right? Because you can see it. And the 2022 run, after they got their doors blown off in Detroit, we've heard that before. Then they went on this run where, oh gosh, they're having to come back and rally in these games, and like the defense is making plays and pick sixes against the Cowboys, and like all these things are happening. And then they win the division. Like, wow, amazing. And then the start of the next year, it's kind of going well. It's really going well. They're the number 1 seed for 30 seconds before that Bengals game. And then injuries started setting in, and they just couldn't find a way. They couldn't figure out how to finish a game. So somehow they doubled down on that comeback run of 2 years ago, which was an all-time epic, probably shouldn't have happened run. It took them winning all the games and the Titans losing all the games for that to happen. Maybe it was deeper than that, looking back on it. Maybe they needed I don't know what they needed, but they needed more than that.
Okay.
Yeah, might have been something to that, just looking back at it now. There's good players on this team. There are guys you can build around, and I think they know that. It's just a matter now of who's going to be able to build around that.
Well, the one guy that they have to build around because he's there for the foreseeable future is Trevor Lawrence. If you could take away one thing to Trevor, what would it be? What do you think's missing with Trevor Lawrence, if anything, JP?
Game management. There's certain moments where, in the heat of a moment in a game, he just makes the total wrong decision. And Philly game, right? They're in the red zone. It's first down. There's like a minute 40 to go. You could argue you could have run it, whatever. That's fine. They didn't. They run this route to the left with the third running back against a linebacker, which is fine. Okay, it's a good matchup if the linebacker gets caught up. We've talked about this, right? But he doesn't. He covers it high. He's back there. He throws it to him anyway instead of throwing it to the popcorn vendor and playing second down. Just little things like that. There's moments where I need to slide foot first here and just get down. And you love the aggressive nature. You want to say whoa instead of giddy up. We get that. But when it costs you your left shoulder for 2 weeks at least, there's some of that stuff too. So decision-making in key moments, I think, would be something. And you just got to keep coaching it, keep harping it, keep on him and stay on him because he's got the talent. He's got the arm. I think he's got the work ethic. I don't hear otherwise. So that's what I would change on Trevor, but it just takes time and time on task.
Tennessee or Ole Miss? Who would you put in? Their resumes side by side are almost identical.
I liked Ole Miss from the start. I like the way they play offense. I like the whole idea of what they're doing there. Tennessee, really good defense. I mean, it's tough. That's a coin flip for me, man. I mean, whoever is out is got an argument because, I guess I'd probably lean Ole Miss just because they throw it around a little bit more, feels like.
You think Indiana's going to get blown out this week, or do you think they give Ohio State a run?
I don't think they'll get blown out. I think they'll, hang And then Ohio State at some point in the fourth quarter should be able to push them around and physically take it over. If there's anything Ohio State does well, it's that. I mean, those guys are that's why they're different, as even in the Big Ten. So let's go see it. Tuimoloau, that defensive front, like those guys took over the Penn State game when it wasn't supposed to be like that.
Well, you saw them at their best, okay, against Penn State and their toughest. But they had the guard move to left tackle. He was terrific that day, especially with what he had to go up against. But now they lost their all-everything center.
Who had a bunch of bad snaps, by the way. Same guy at Alabama last year.
True, but he was arguably their most consistent lineman, though, this year. All right, I'm just saying, how big of a loss do you think that will be for Ohio State?
I mean, it's huge. Yeah, you lose the center, then okay, that's the guy that's been running the show and pointing out, linebackers and stuff all season calls. So that's all right. Well, in that case, maybe we got ourselves a ball game at the Horseshoe this week. I mean, honestly, that's a good point. The center, I'd forgotten about him. It's a bye week. I'm not really paying attention.
No, I got it. You haven't shaved, right? You're still drinking, right? No, we get it.
Yeah. But I still think Ohio State's good enough to overcome that. They should be good enough to overcome that. Now, if they had a center ready to go, they wouldn't have had to go in the transfer portal and get this guy out of the portal, right? That's another point. So is that enough? Well, yeah. I mean, it probably is. If they can just get it out and get it out to their playmakers, that young freshman, let him run with it. He's great.
Alabama looks like they're going to play for an SEC title. With all this craziness, it looks like they've got the track to get to the SEC title. Is this season, what's the line of success for Bama this year with where they're at right now?
Line of success. What does that mean?
Well, is it just an SEC title? Is it winning games in the playoff? I mean, I don't think the fan base is expecting a natty, or is that what they expect every year?
Mark, have you ever been to Alabama?
I have.
Have you ever been to Birmingham, Alabama?
Many a time.
When was the last time you came to Birmingham, Alabama?
In a long time.
Obviously, because all they want here and all they care about is that trophy at the end. And they can lose the SEC. That's disappointing. As long as they get in the playoff after that, they got a shot. And that's where everybody's head is, even with a first-year head coach, even with 2 losses, both in the state of Tennessee for some ungodly reason. That they feel like they can go win a national championship. If they play like they played last week, they'll beat anybody in the country. That's what they have.
Did you sense the Alabama alum coming out there?
Yeah, I did, and I loved it.
2 losses in the state of Tennessee. Okay. He's JP Shadrick. It's an off week for him this week. He's not going to shave, and he's going to keep drinking. And he joined us on Miller and Moulton.
We started our show 18 years ago and have been fired 3 times. But Miller and Moulton have never lived on the edge like we are now. We have our best morning ratings ever and are steadily adding affiliates. Yet, we only have a few sponsors, and if that doesn't change, we cannot continue. But if you want to advertise on Miller and Moulton, reach out to one of us directly by texting sponsor to 21,000 or by contacting me on X at @MarkMiller or David at @TheDavidMoulton. You can save Miller and Moulton and make your business some serious money by texting 21,000 now.
The world-famous cigar bar started as a neighborhood place in downtown Fort Myers, and now it's a brand, a destination with 4 locations. The original place, Henry Street, Fort Myers, Gulf Coast Town Center, on Southeast 47th Terrace off the Cape Coral Parkway, and the Lounge on West 1st Street in Fort Myers. A place to go, whether you just need a relaxing drink and a smoke after a tough day at work, or a place to go celebrate. From relaxation to celebration, the world-famous cigar bar.
American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
Gentlemen, as your wife mentioned getting new flooring, but you don't want to go through the hassle, well, go see the Floor Meisters in Naples next to Costco. They understand your time and money are important, so they'll make it as painless as possible. With a huge in-stock selection of carpet and Cortec, they can get you the floor your wife's been asking for. They carry wood, vinyl, carpet, and tile. If you do it yourself, no problem. They can handle that as well. So go see TJ at the Floor Meisters and tell them Just keeping it real.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Buddy of mine just sent a text saying JP sounds like he's going to be drinking wild turkey all day. Just thought we'd try to have some fun with that. Mark, a buddy of mine, sent a text that said JP sounded like he's going to be slamming wild turkey for the rest of the day.
Yep.
Sonny, how could you not be a fan of chaos? I'd love to see all hell break loose. Thing is, Hoosiers winning, all that would do, it's not going to knock Ohio State out, and it's going to put Indiana in the title game.
No, the Hoosiers getting blown out adds to more chaos.
But Minnesota beating Penn State, you know, Hoosiers, like Mark said, Hoosiers getting blown out, and he's the one who brought up earlier Minnesota winning. Now we're talking.
You know, the fact that they let me run this board without ever having really been trained on this board is an interesting thing. Figured out why my questions weren't going through during the break.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good.
I know now.
Good. Done.
Welcome to the bonus hour, brought to you by Jason and Todd at the Diamond District. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
21 minutes past the hour. The Diamond District bonus hour here on Miller and Moulton. MillerandMoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. And this is the segment where we usually, some of the things we haven't brought up throughout the show, or we may iterate something we brought up much earlier. So this was a possibility a few months ago. Did you see the news that came out late yesterday, early this morning? Around the Horn's going to be done next year.
Right. That had been out for a while.
Right. That it came out like late summer, the beginning of the fall, that, don't know how much longer it's going to last. And sure enough, it's, I guess, going to be done by summer of 2025. So, and that was a show that was a spinoff of PTI. PTI, which was a show unlike any other. I mean, now we accept these shows as commonplace, but I mean, what, Crossfire on CNN and PTI? I mean, do you remember a half-hour daily sports show in which two guys sat around and discussed the issues of the day on television?
No, PTI was the first. It was a completely different show. It was basically taking sports talk radio to television.
And, they put, 30 seconds to a segment, or, the 5-minute interview. That was their big interview, 5 minutes. The most they'd let you talk about something was 90 seconds. I think it was the 20th anniversary of PTI that, somebody did a story about it. And I guess Kornheiser had either a 2 or 3 year contract, fully guaranteed, for a ton of money at the time. He gets the staff together that they hire. And apparently this is he's having the speech. They're going to go and start the demo shows, and they're going to do this. And he says, listen, I don't expect this thing to last more than 2 to 3 weeks, but I've got whether it was 2 or 3 years, I got a 2 or 3 year fully guaranteed contract. So I don't care. All right. But for the rest of you, I don't know. You might want to start preparing for something else. But here's what we're thinking of doing.
Around the Horn, probably much like the sports reporters, but even on a bigger basis, introduced us to so many local columnists.
Mm-hmm. Right. Even if they were working in really big markets, Woody Page in Denver, Kalishaw in Dallas, who I think has the most appearances on the show.
And it was funny because I was never a Kalishaw guy, and I liked Woody Page. And when we were at the Miami Super Bowl, there was a media event you didn't go to. You had something going on, and our producer, John Cassio, and I went. And it was at the beach, and it was all set up, and we're walking around, and I saw Woody Page, and I just walked up and said, hey, really, really enjoy watching you. Introduced myself to him and said, like your stuff, and was about to walk away. And he goes, where are you going? And he brought John and I over and hung out with us for, wanted to chat, wanted to know who we were, what we did. And Kalishaw was just hanging out by himself. And I'm like, well, that seemed about appropriate at the time.
So you made a conclusion based on that?
I did.
Yeah.
I did. It proved me right for that moment. And that's all I was going with.
But, my understanding of Around the Horn is it does in its time slot, which I think is 5 Eastern. It leads into PTI.
Yes, it does.
Does that sound right?
You're absolutely
that Around the Horn does basically what Stephen A's show does. Now, obviously, different time slot. It's 10 a.m. for Stephen A's show? Or no, is it
10 to noon?
Is he 10 to noon? Yeah. Greenberg's show is 8 to 10, and then he goes to radio. Okay. Stephen A's show, first take is.
No, he doesn't go to radio. The Greeny radio show is on.
Well, that's
played. Two guys talking about the NBA that aren't Mike Greenberg.
Well played, Mark. Very well played.
Coming up on stations around the state that you're listening to.
Right. If you miss that, it's our way of saying Greenberg never does his radio show.
Ever.
But it's paid for it. and promoted for it. So anyway, 10 to noon on the mothership, as Dan Patrick calls it. That's Stephen A. Smith's show, which does 500,000 viewers. I mean, sometimes, a little less, sometimes a little more. But basically, 500,000 people watch that show. And that's what Around the Horn does. Now, PTI doubles it. I mean, it is remarkable. I mean, Around the Horn's had a pretty good lead in. At times, they've been even a little better than that. But, I mean, a quick 250, 300,000 more people are tuning into PTI. Boom. I mean, a bad PTI is 800,000 people.
Part of that makes sense to me, though, because people leave work at 5, and when do they get home?
Yeah, okay, could be that.
I mean, timing.
Yeah.
Timing.
Could also just be Kornheiser and Wilbon. People like the show better. But, I mean, there are a lot of times at the end of the year that their ratings are almost double what their lead-in is. Speaking of television, we talked about this late last week, and we even said, okay, they're going to comment about it. We said it Monday. We talked late last week about the deal, and then on Monday we said Inside the NBA is moving to ESPN, and don't kid yourself, they're going to talk about it. And Mark, did they talk about it?
Absolutely. What did Chuck say? Now we're going to get kissing butt again? And he didn't say butt.
No, he didn't. He shortened it to 3 letters.
Yes, he did.
1 a vowel. Yep. Well, guys, it looks like we're going to have to start kissing again. The genius of that show, Ernie just kept right on going. Just right on going. Just ignored the comment. He's got stuff to say. Let's keep the show moving. But I was kind of surprised by that because in theory, they're not going to have to start kissing butt again, right? They're producing the show, they're doing their thing, and it's airing on ESPN.
No, to your earlier comment that Kornheiser said that I've got a 2-year contract. That's basically where, because Chuck and Ernie are still under contract. And as I read the article, Shaq's up for a contract, so's Kenny. And they basically said, where's Kenny going? It's like, what's he going to do? No offense.
What I think is fascinating is because the other thing we found out, which we didn't know on Monday when we first brought this up, was apparently Inside the NBA is going to do it all now. They're going to do the finals. I guess that means this is the last year for ESPN ABC's NBA show. Whatever their NBA countdown is, not their daily 30 or 60 minute thing that they do. Okay.
NBA Live or whatever it is.
That's like, college football live and what have you, the NFL live, whatever they're doing. No, we're talking about leading into and after games. It sounds like all those people are losing their job. Now, whether they actually get let go by the network or they're just reassigned and they're doing SportsCenter and other things, but it sounds like that show after this year totally goes away. And it's replaced by Inside the NBA.
I'm not going to miss Around the Horn, but I liked the show. I thought they did a good job. I liked it better when Kellerman was hosting it.
Okay. That's very early, but I think most people don't even realize he did.
But
Because Tony Reali's been doing it
for a while. I think he does a good job.
Right.
I'm wondering what they'll put in that slot, if they'll just put more of the NFL, NBA Live stuff.
Probably. Yeah.
Why spend money when you don't have to, right?
Uh-huh. Mark, I don't know if you've noticed, but these networks are not as profitable as they once were.
Which is laughable when it comes to the 4-letter network.
I know. Which is still
They're still swimming in money.
Yes, they are. They're very profitable.
Just not as profitable.
Correct. We said what we said for a reason. They're just not as profitable as they used to be. Now, the others, that's a different story. Like NBC talking about eliminating all their cable channels.
Right. People at MSNBC freaking out, thinking the network might get rebranded, if at anything at all.
Or go away.
Right.
I mean, hey.
Hey, been there, done that, guys. Welcome to the real world.
Just going to say, it's our third act for a reason there, fellas and ladies.
The Cape Coral Police Department is growing. They are currently looking for police officers and are offering a $10,000 signing bonus to newly hired officers. If you desire a career in law enforcement, or if you are already in law enforcement and thinking about making a move to a better agency, think Cape Coral Police Department. If you're looking for a police department that is committed to excellence, that invests in the highest level of training, state-of-the-art equipment, and some of the highest compensation in all of Southwest Florida, then the Cape Coral Police Department is for you. Visit capecops.com. That's capecops.com.
Wine glasses never fall over until you get a brand new rug.
Oh no!
Ketchup bottles act normal till you're wearing a new shirt.
Oh, you kidding me?
And rocks slide peacefully on the road till the day you get a brand new windshield. Then they fly up off the road and attack without mercy. That's why new windshields from Glass Doctor come with our windshield protection plan. Unlimited repairs and one replacement for 12 months. Don't just fix it, protect it. Glass Doctor. A neighborly company.
Mark Miller for Molly Maid. Why Molly Maid, you ask? Trust. Moulton was a customer for 15 years. Affordability. Didn't I just say Moulton was a customer for 15 years? Worry-free services. Our professional house cleaners are fully insured and a 24-hour warranty. Call Molly Maids today at 239-774-5839. That's 239-774-5839 or online at mollymaid.com/FTMYERS. That's mollymaid.com/FTMYERS. Sleep problem but don't want to wear a CPAP mask? This is Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. The mask wasn't working for me, and I didn't think I had an alternative. I do. We all do. They have such simple alternatives with greater success than the mask. Visit sleeptreatmentdirect.com. That's sleeptreatmentdirect.com. And if you are like me and your CPAP machine isn't working for you, it's time for a change. Call 239-444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and sound.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Big night tonight, David. Cane toad sweeps in the neighborhood.
I'm sorry, what?
We have a company that comes in and sweeps out the cane toads.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, ambient PTI staying on. I don't know, Sonny. First off, I think Danny's going to end up in the NBA. I think Danny wants the Knicks job. Now, Tibbs may have too good of a team for them to move on from him, but buddy of mine says, can I get a cane toad sweep in my neighborhood? But that's just to get rid of my jackass neighbors.
Wow.
Hello.
Arch, I don't know how it works. All I know is that I get an email saying they're having cane toad sweeps at night. I've never seen them. I think they come in the middle of the night. And they're out killing toads, I guess. I don't know. I don't know how it works.
Out killing toads.
But, if Act 4 goes south or 3 or whatever act we're on, maybe I'm going to be killing cane toads.
This is like 3.5.
It's the Roast to Go Patio Holiday Sale, so get your patio holiday ready.
I don't know why the volume is on those ads, because it's not like A, I call up the ads, or B, you want the volume on.
My wife has a couple of games she plays on her phone, and it does that to her. That all of a sudden, and like the ads run, but most of them don't have volume. But every once in a while, and it's always full blast.
Sure. Irish, so you didn't like the Mike and Mike morning show?
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton. Text the guys what's in your mind at 21,000. That's 21000. And now, here's David Moulton.
Home stretch of Miller and Moulton during this Diamond District bonus hour in the 239 and the 904. Thanks so much for being with us a week away from Thanksgiving.
Woohoo!
Miller and Moulton broadcasting live from the Floormeister Studios. Floormeisters, just keeping it real.
It's that time again, nearing the end, but not quite there yet. Here's Mark Miller with Today Was the Day When.
I don't know if you had anything there or not. The pause seemed long enough to just jump in with the
No,
sound.
I nodded right at you, kind of like, go to it there, big fella.
Fair enough. We start in 1890 today when the Edison Lab records the first surviving motion picture. Big day for the NFL today. Maybe one of the biggest. 1925, Red Grange plays his final game at the University of Illinois and signs with the Chicago Bears. The horror film Frankenstein, released today in 1931 with Boris Karloff as the monster. The Yankees bought another player today. It was in 1934. They got this guy named DiMaggio from the San Francisco Seals of the Pacific Coast League.
So they acquired Ruth and DiMaggio, huh? How'd those deals work out?
Today in 1976, it all began, David, because Rocky premiered in New York City. Won the Best Picture at 77. 1980, the Whodunit episode revealing who shot JR on Dallas.
Oh, my goodness.
A 53.3 rating. 76% of television watchers in the U.S. watched Dallas to see who shot JR. 1981. Olivia Newton-John's Physical goes number one, stays number one for 10 weeks. It would be the song of the year in 1981.
It's, if you listen to it now and realize that, first off, becoming a number one hit is appalling. Song of the year,
right,
is disgusting. We were doing a lot of drugs in the 80s, ladies and gentlemen, and if you need evidence of that, play Physical.
In fact, watch the video for Physical.
Is that right around the time of Jane Fonda and the
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Big one for you and I today in 83, David. You may not know it. But I think the reason this band skyrocketed is largely due to the release of this live album. Under a Blood Red Sky by U2 was released today in 83.
I was in college.
I mean, War was already out. It was a big album. For those of us that hadn't heard U2 yet and the live versions of some of these songs.
And obviously college radio, it still is largely today, but 40 years ago, the college station that I was at, we played, the cutting edge music. It was a hell of a combination, Mark. Cutting edge and classic rock all at the same time. It was, but anyway. So, that was my introduction to U2. I think was freshman year in college.
Today in '89, George H.W. Bush signs a law banning smoking on most domestic flights. To think. And I used to sit between my parents on flights as they were just one lung dart after another.
Yep.
One after another, the whole flight.
Could you imagine even trying that today, just for the heck of it?
No.
Okay. You just light up and see how long it takes before the people around you, never mind the flight attendants, just start to lose their mind.
Stan Musial would have celebrated a birthday today. Earl the Pearl Monroe is 80. Goldie Hawn is 79. Your guy, I don't know if you're aware of this, David. Troy Aikman's 58 today.
I am aware of it. This weekend, we'll take our Schwarzenegger DeVito twins picture together that we take every year for his birthday weekend. Yep.
Ken Griffey Jr. is 55 and Michael Strahan is 53. What did I miss, David?
Not much, to be honest with you. Most people aren't aware of this, that the Titanic had a sister. All right, seriously, they built a sister ship to the Titanic. It was in construction when the Titanic went down. They were going to call the ship the Gigantic. They scaled it down, made some changes so it wouldn't be as susceptible to, hitting an iceberg. And they called it the Britannic. Okay. And they called it the sister ship. So I don't know if it was pronounced Britannic, B-R-I, or Britannic, but I think it was Britannic. Anyway, the ship was a success for a couple years. They were using it largely to rescue soldiers in the UK from where they were in World War I and bring them back and what have you. And they were on another rescue mission on this date in 1916 when there was an explosion on the ship and it sank. Now, most people survived. There were like over 1,000 people on the ship, and I think the deaths were less than 50. But the Titanic had a sister ship, and it exploded on this day 108 years ago and sank.
Time to see life a little bit differently. Here's Mark Miller with the good, the bad, and the ugly. What do you got, Mark?
This is a good for all of us, I believe, David. We go to Barcelona for the good, where a Spanish court has upheld a ruling that a supermarket worker was unlawfully fired for having eaten a croquette that was going to be thrown away after not having been sold from the store's deli section. The worker was fired in July of 2023 after he scarfed down the fried snack, which was destined for the trash after the store had closed for the day. Company's policy is that workers are prohibited from consuming any product found in the store without having paid for it previously. They fired him. He took it to court and won based on the fact that the store was closed and they were going to throw the food away. So good for him.
Yeah, good for him. Absolutely.
For the bad, we go to Port Charlotte, where Billy Belcher broke into a home by prying open the sliding patio door. The homeowner was not in the house. It was all captured on security videos. When deputies arrived at the home, Belcher had made himself, at home. Put his dentures on the floor by the couch, was watching TV. He was arrested on the lanai. He remains in jail without bond as he awaits trial.
He didn't leave the dentures on the table, did he?
No, he left them on the floor.
On the floor?
On the floor.
Oh, for goodness sakes.
Finally, the ugly, we go to Tennessee, where a deer crashed through the window of a Tennessee gym, spent about 2 hours in the locker room, and left a deuce for the owner.
Ah, come on now.
Mark Johnson, the gym owner, wrote on social media that he took a big dump and didn't even flush.
He's got a sense of humor, at least.
That is the good, the bad, and the ugly on today, Thursday, November the 21st, Brought to you by the Cape Coral Police Department. Go to capecops.com. That's capecops.com. A $10,000 sign-on bonus for new officers. Get all the information at capecops.com.
College football tonight on the four-letter network, an ACC battle. NC State trying to be bowl eligible. They're 5-5 at Georgia Tech. Pretty good 6-4 team. You think Georgia Tech's got something for Georgia?
Well, I do think they're getting a couple more days of rest before the Georgia game next week. That certainly helps. You know, that quarterback runs the ball well. He can give teams fits. I think they've got enough to give them a half, if you know what I mean. I don't think Georgia just blows them away.
Georgia Tech an 8.5-point favorite tonight. Obviously, Thursday Night Football tonight on Amazon Prime, 8:15. You know, Mark, sometimes is the team just due to lose? I mean, Steelers are 8-2. Come on. You can be the biggest Steeler fan in the world, like your mother-in-law. Okay? Did she really think they were going to be better than 8-2? I mean, come on.
I don't think any of my in-laws thought they were going to be 8-2. But do you see them losing to Cleveland?
Well, you know, they've won 5 in a row, the Steelers. It's a short week. We're doing the Thursday night thing. They just played the Ravens. I mean, why is the spread only 3.5? I mean, you tell me. 8-2 visiting 2-8. All right. Why is the spread only 3.5? Same spread that LSU was favored at Florida. Remember when Kansas was just a 2.5-point dog at BYU, and we're all going, what the heck? And the 2.5 and 3.5-point favorites last week both lost. I don't know. I'm worried about this game for the Steelers. I don't think they play well.
The Steelers are 1-7 on Thursday Night Football on the road.
And I think they're 0-7 in the division.
Correct. That is correct.
So they have never won in this spot.
Think about it. They've got that huge winning streak on Monday Night Football at home.
Correct.
They can't win in the division on Thursday Night Football.
Correct. They won the home game on Monday Night Football earlier in the year. So that trend paid off. I'm going to take the Browns.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Steelers.
17-16 Cleveland.
I like your 16 score. I think you should go 17-15 because it'll be 5 field goals. I don't think they'll actually get a touchdown. I think you're off a little bit on that one, but I like where your head's at, David.
Well, I think they're going to get a touchdown, but it might be a pick 6. Remember, Jameis is involved. Hey,
I'm going to go 2013 Pittsburgh.
All right, fair enough. So we're both going under 36.5 for what it's worth. Mark's laying the points with the Steelers. I'm taking the points with the Browns. Just quick sidebar. Did you see the end of the game last week in New Orleans? Cleveland at New Orleans. Saints won comfortably. You know, Jameis was in New Orleans for, 3 years?
Yep.
Did you see the reaction from the Saints players after the game towards Jameis? They lined up like they were getting Taylor Swift's autograph. There were 30 guys waiting for Jameis. Oh, seriously. It was remarkable. I mean, half the staff. Seriously. I mean, you want to know what kind of a teammate he is? I mean, the Saints players, and they couldn't wait to talk to Jameis after the game. The line was long, and it took forever. I mean, literally, you're 8-10 minutes after the game. Everybody's left the field. It's Jameis and 20 Saints standing there. It was something to see.
Crazy.
Well, he's got his detractors, but obviously his teammates are not one of them. NHL tonight. Tampa Bay's in Columbus. Florida's in Chicago. Got a bunch of games, though, tonight. I think we got 11 of them.
Game of the night might be Hurricanes and Devils.
That's entertaining.
It's good hockey right there. That's a lot of pace. That's 2 teams that can score. That should be a pretty entertaining hockey game.
It's a shame that Ovechkin's hurt because the Avs are in our nation's capital against the Caps as well.
Kind of like the Bruins tonight, don't you? New coach.
I don't know. Did you see the Bruins' reaction yesterday? Oh my goodness. The players are like, they said this is wrong. He was a good coach and a good man. Okay. Players said we got him fired. That's awful.
That's why they're going to win tonight.
Okay. So you think they'll win one for him tonight?
Win one, well, a little bit for themselves. If they know they're the reason that the coach got fired, don't you think they come out with an effort?
It's funny. I saw and heard those quotes and took it as this is not going over well in the room.
Well, I was waiting for the Bruins to get old for 3 years.
Yeah, true. 4 games in the association tonight. Orlando's in LA to take on the Lakers, who I think have won like 5 in a row. So,
Lakers a 4.5-point favorite.
You got to go to CBS Sports Network, but the college hoops game of the night is Baylor and St. John's in the Bahamas at 7:00. That's not bad. Just
college
saying.
hoop tournaments are starting. We'll get some good college hoop here for the next 7 days.
And for those listening in Southwest Florida, don't know if you've made your plans, but the first of 4 days of golf, it's probably already underway at Tiburon and Naples. Bring a sweater, maybe even a light jacket. All right. But, best the LPGA has is their top 70 players. They're at Tiburon competing for $11 million, $4 million to the winner.
And their purses for next year, they just got news that their purses are going way up on the LPGA Tour. They're fired up.
Yeah, they should be. Good for them. By the way, how about Caitlin Clark? She didn't announce it, but word's out she's not going to play in that 3-on-3 Unrivaled League, where reportedly she was offered $1 million. Hey, a football Friday tomorrow. Join us then, Miller and Moulton. We started our show 18 years ago and have been fired 3 times, but Miller and Moulton have never lived on the edge like we are now. We have our best morning ratings ever, are steadily adding affiliates, yet we only have a few sponsors. And if that doesn't change, we can't continue. But if you want to advertise on Miller and Moulton, reach out to one of us directly by texting sponsor to 21,000 or contact Mark on X at @MarkMiller or me at @DavidMoulton. You can save Miller and Moulton and make your business some serious money by texting 21,000 now.
Honey, you want to come out? I haven't seen you since Glass Doctor installed our custom shower enclosure.
No thanks.
Well, you can't keep eating breakfast in the shower, and laminating your magazines is getting expensive. You remember we have guests coming over tonight, right?
Oh, I'm sure they'd love to see the shower.
It's our neighbors, and I highly doubt they want to be hanging out in our bathroom.
The shower's so good, you'll never want to leave. Visit glassdoctor.com today and schedule an appointment online.
American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
Visit Jason and Todd at the Diamond District.
It's time for one of the biggest diamond events of the year, right in your backyard. Join Jason and Todd at the Diamond District this weekend, Friday, November 22nd through Sunday the 24th, featuring GIA certified diamonds, diamond stud earrings, hoops, huggies, bracelets, diamond necklaces, anniversary bands, gemstone jewelry, and Rolex watches. Plus, Barry Verragio, founder of Verragio, one of America's top bridal designers, will join the Diamond District with his entire collection.
Gentlemen, as your wife mentioned getting new flooring, but you don't want to go through the hassle, well, go see the Floor Meisters in Naples next to Costco. They understand your time and money are important, so they'll make it as painless as possible. With a huge in-stock selection of carpet and Cortec, they can get you the floor your wife's been asking for. They carry wood, vinyl, carpet, and tile. If you do it yourself, no problem. They can handle that as well. So go see TJ at the Floor Meisters and tell them, just keeping it real.
Mark Miller for Molly Maid. Why Molly Maid, you ask? Trust. Moulton was a customer for 15 years. Affordability. Didn't I just say Moulton was a customer for 15 years? Worry-free services. Our professional house cleaners are fully insured and a 24-hour warranty. Call Molly Maids today at 239-774-5839. That's 239-774-5839 or online at mollymaid.com/FTMYERS. That's mollymaid.com/FTMYERS.
This is Miller and Moulton.